All right, technical difficulties aside, I think we're here.
Yeah, let me fix my blouse.
Yeah.
Is that what this is?
I don't know, man. I like the fabric on it, though.
Yeah, my cousin gave it to me.
Just didn't suit him or something, or what?
Yeah, something like that.
I know the rest, but...
Yeah. But
Actually,
anyway.
yeah, I wanted to start with the lighthearted topic. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I just wanted.
Yeah,
You know what? Yeah. Let's
Unless
start.
you have something, you can
No,
start with
I
it.
have a prop, but I
Yeah.
want to break it out at a specific point.
Okay. All right. And then I'm going to try to be a little quiet since obviously all the walls are down and we have no whatever. So
no yelling
this is
about.
quiet cast today.
I'm gonna come.
What?
None of that.
Yeah, if you could yell that, no. Yeah, so I just, before you got here, I was doing some dishes, and I finished a video, and I wanted to, like, rant about it a little bit, and hear your thoughts as well, because I find this topic really annoying. So, obviously, I'm assuming you're familiar with the topic of Elsagate, right?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so to reiterate, it's basically just YouTube at some point, the algorithm picked up a lot of these videos that were like provocative and like, you know, sexually exploitative in different ways of Elsa and Spider-Man, and they were showing it to kids. That's essentially what the thing is.
Yeah.
And so now there's like a whole new crop of those same videos because you have YouTube platform and then you have the offshoot of YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And from my understanding, YouTube Kids is free just like YouTube. It doesn't
It's
cost
just an
anything.
app, yeah.
Yeah, and then the only thing is that the content is supposed to be geared towards children.
Yeah.
All right, so I got this video that was talking about like the underbelly of Minecraft Kids content, okay? And the entire video is like 30, 40 minutes long, and I find it fucking annoying because when you boil it down, the entire argument is essentially YouTube should be parenting your children. That's what their argument is. Their argument is YouTube should be responsible for the content that they're showing your children. And it's like, no. Like this is a symptom of the problem. If random people in Russia want to exploit your children for money because of this like stupid system, it's on the parents for neglecting their children literally. That's the problem. They're neglecting their children like they essentially, my thought is, right, and this is obviously a very generalization. I'm being very general here.
Yeah.
But you have parents that send their kids off to some fucking public school where the state plays babysitter for 6 to 8 hours, and then they get home and they don't want to deal with their kids because maybe they're working or whatever, I don't know, and they give them the iPad, and they just let them roam free.
Yeah.
Like, and they're like, oh man, I can't believe my child is watching like a big, like, breasted Minecraft character get assaulted in various different... It's like, what do you fucking mean? And then there's another part of me that's annoyed, too. So this is another tangent. Because I've been reading a lot of fairy tales and stuff.
Okay.
The oral history of humanity telling tales is much worse than the things that they're seeing on Minecraft. Like, the only difference is it's visual, and it's, like, child content. But, like, I've read a lot of fairy tales at this point, and they're not... like
good,
that far from, and I'm not saying they're good or bad. It's not a moral question. It's I think the psyche needs these sort of stories in some capacity to build an understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And they're just exploiting them by making like low effort, crappy AI generated Minecraft content that uses some of these things in the psyche that are there that they're searching for necessarily.
No, I mean like the whole like if you think about it, right? Forever, this has been happening for a while because like there was also like the generations before us that were like raised by the TV, like MTV, and so people would be like, oh no, I want to like shoot people and be in hip hop or whatever, and then before that it was like, no, I just let my kids go roam the neighborhood and bully other kids or whatever the hell, right? Like, you know, this has been happening forever. Basically, no, people aren't watching their kids and they blame it on society rather than
it's always
themselves.
The next thing. It's always like, it doesn't matter what piece of technology it is, it's always condemned when at the end of the day, it's the parents that are neglecting their children.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're neglecting their children to the point of letting them roam free on the internet, which has a whole wide variety of things you can see for free.
Oh, yeah.
At the expense of yourself. And they're talking about, like, they go through this whole, like, moral grandstanding thing where, like, these kids are like posting anecdotal stories on Twitter about like the trauma that they have from watching like Elsa do stuff to Spider-Man or something. And it's like, your parents are the problem for that, dog. Like, they should have protected you. If you're that concerned about it, if it caused that much of a problem for you, like, it's your fucking parents.
Yeah.
Dude. Like, YouTube is not your mom or dad.
I think that on the other side, the only thing is like the app is for the kids.
Yeah.
And so if they're going to label this as for kids, then they need to be able to do the due diligence of making it for kids. Mm-hmm. But you got to have like some guidelines and someone to moderate it. But they probably just are like,
the problem is there's too much content. It's impossible.
It's YouTube.
Yeah, the content is created so fast, and they create this narrative, which might be true to some capacity, that YouTube makes so much money off of these videos that they almost have like a counter incentive.
But they can't show ads to kids.
They can show stuff like ads in the sides and stuff like that. Like there are ads. They do make ad revenue.
But the kids can't buy anything. I thought it was illegal to show kids like show kids ads. It's some kind of weird thing. I don't know.
From the video, it seemed like there were advertisers, because they made the argument that advertisers wouldn't want to be associated with this type of content. There is some kind of advertising thing going on somewhere. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but
that's weird.
Whatever the case, like.
I guess TV does it, but yeah.
Yeah, TV shows obviously ads.
But you can't like tap on it and then go to a shady website and buy like horse pills.
But you can, in the description of videos, put links to things and things like that.
That's true.
So, but at the end of the day, it's just like, these kids are watching videos and then they expect, there's the seedy underbelly thing where they're talking about how YouTube has sort of this incentive to continue like allowing this content. But I think the reality is that their AI tools aren't good enough to monitor this content, and they don't have enough people to monitor the amount of content that's being churned out. Because like the people that have these channels, like they probably have like 10 channels, they could just re-upload the video faster than YouTube can find it to even look for.
Make a new channel.
Yeah.
Do that. Yeah.
And so that is just something that I thought was really annoying, because I see more and more of these videos of these guys like, I can't believe the type of content the kids are looking at on YouTube. And it's like they pull up all these videos of like these like really provocative things. And it's just like, dog, the parents are the problem. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this content exists everywhere.
When I was like 13 or 14, I torrented some hentai that had like specifically, I was looking for something that wasn't not naked.
My situation is much different, but even when I had just graduated high school and was working at the golf course, somebody left like two boxes at the golf course. One of them was filled with like rape novels, and the other one was filled with a bunch of porno mags that had like printed out hentai and some of the pages stuck together.
Jesus Christ.
I have that stuff still. Like, I had gotten it because I was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. Like, that stuff just happens. I mean, that's obviously
it just happens.
It just happens. Yeah, you just end up with the stuff.
I don't know.
I don't know. I had always debated at some point doing some sort of like video where I read through all this old pornography, because like they're full novels, like a terrible story. It's almost worse than fan fiction, but they're published.
Jesus.
And then in the back of the book they have like a list of all the other names of books you could have gotten if you like mail order in for more, and some of those names are even worse than the books that I got. And so whatever.
I find Smutty McRapington, the third.
At the end of the day, I think it comes down, it was really bad. It was like Nazis and girls and weird violent stories. And I think one of them is like a MASH parody or something. Like, to date some of the stuff is horrible. It's horribly old. And some of it is just tacky by today's standards. But yeah, that's, it's just, I keep seeing these videos and these guys get in these Discord calls and they're like, I can't believe it. I can't believe YouTube, mommy and daddy YouTube is not parenting these children better. It's like, what? I don't know what to tell you, dude. The world has the good and the evil.
Would those people also call for like censoring books out of libraries and stuff? Probably.
I don't know, but the problem is that ideology that they have eventually leads to that point, right?
Yeah.
Because their whole thought is that like YouTube should be policing this type of content. And like, whether it's moral or not, I don't really care. I think at the end of the day, the onus is on the parents to like actually participate in their children's lives. To determine what they should and shouldn't watch. And I would argue that the stuff they're watching isn't any worse than children that had listened to the oral oral history of fairy tales and stuff hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's not much different. The only thing is that the quality is probably from some, like, Indian AI farm, and it's much worse and has less symbolism than that stuff does. So
no, maybe it has this. Maybe in like 40, in like 200 years, we'll look back on that and be like, "There's so much symbolism compared to what we have now."
yeah. When they took scissors and cut off the girl's clothes and then tied them to the wooden, like, obviously symbolism.
Yeah.
It's a feminist icon.
The scissors represent God.
Yeah.
Stripping away the sins.
Yeah, and purifying them, obviously. It's so stupid, dude. I hate it. I hate it literally is just that old joke of, like, think about the children. Won't somebody think about the children? And the parents are just sitting there, like, having a Mai Tai, like, drinking, like, day drinking away as they, like, let the state and government and internet raise their children for them.
They got it.
Like, it's absolutely terrible.
The government's got it.
Yeah, and then just previously, I had listened to a video about the unschooling stuff, the parents that are doing unschooling. Yeah, have you heard of that? It's like moms that do, like, homeschooling, but their goal is to, like, unschool them of the things that normal kids learn.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like math?
I don't even know. I think unschooling is just a cope in some way for, like, they don't have the knowledge to teach everything to their kids, but they're trying to make it sound like their kids are smarter because they're not, like, little worker ants that follow everything. But the problem is that there needs to be some level of understanding of how society functions in order for them to participate in society.
Yeah,
you can't just be some kind of, like, guru, like Jeff Bezos, like
alpha male
child that's clear pilled on the reality of the situation without understanding, like, you know, how people, I mean, I almost feel like you're robbing them of their ability to see through the situation in some ways. Now, and I guess I lean more on the homeschooling thing, but I can see the negative effects of it.
Oh, I live with the negative effects. No offense.
Yeah. No, I see, like, I have family members and stuff like that are, like, socially developed in different ways that makes it difficult for them to interact with the general public.
Yeah.
And also their understanding of reality and the people that they trust is, like, a completely different worldview because of their limited scope from homeschooling and things like that. Like, and I'm not saying I would fare much better, but because of the public schooling we had, it's obviously much different. It was like a country.
Ours was pretty good,
I thought. It was good, but it wasn't like showing the full swath of human potential with, like, that you would get, like, in a city or something.
I think that our school was probably one of the better schools you could have gone to, just because I felt like the teachers cared, and I think that's a really big deal.
Yeah, I would say some of the teachers cared for sure.
Yeah, there's some that aren't, but
I had some very formative teachers, and I am very thankful for that. I think our schooling was very good. I think it was much better than potentially homeschooling could have been from, like, my parents and stuff like that. I don't think they could have managed that very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, the unschooling thing is just a whole nother.
Wait, what are they getting rid? Like, what parts are they like? Oh, we don't want that. I don't want my kid to learn.
Yeah, okay, so
X.
It's weird. I've read a little bit of these philosophies. What is the one that's really popular that they claim Jeff Bezos went to? It's not
unschooling school?
No, it's not. It's not
just school.
It's a school you have to pay for. It's a private school, but it's like self-directed private school to some extent. They, like, let kids go and do things.
It's like that.
My cousin does it. I can't think of the name of it right now.
That's like that. That was like on The Simpsons, and it was like made fun of because it was like, oh no, the kids will just want to learn themselves.
Yeah, like, naturally we'll allow the kids to follow their inclinations. I gotta look it up. I can't remember.
Yeah. I mean, like, I feel like whenever I was in 3rd grade or whatever, I read all my books but didn't want to do any homework or anything. And so, like, I could have probably benefited from that because I would have just kept reading more books. But I stopped reading because there was nothing else to read. I don't know.
Yeah, you just run out of interest.
Yeah, that's what basically, yeah. I was really interested in learning a bunch of stuff, and I, like, within the first couple weeks of school, I, like, read my books, and I'm like, well, okay. Anything else? And then I got yelled at for not doing my homework every day. It was cool.
Why can't I think of this thing? This is killing me, dude. Ideology. What is that?
This is such a weird search. What fancy self-directing school ideology?
I'm trying to find... It's like this thing... Man, it's gonna fucking bug the shit out of me. I'm thinking of the Waldorf school. I have that in my head. I've read some of the philosophy of the Waldorf school.
Okay, for the gifted?
It's kind of like...
Waldorf school for the gifted?
It's not the ideology that I'm thinking of. It's another one that's really popular right now that my cousin's going to.
Type in unschooling.
Unschooling? I don't think that's what it is.
Philosophy. There it is.
Yeah.
Unschooling philosophy.
Unschooling is homeschool that focuses on child interests and passions rather than
free
curriculum.
Schooling.
Yeah, which isn't the same thing though, because there are those schools that you can pay for. Oh my god.
Paid unschooling.
Yeah, paid for unschooling.
What the hell? Potential spam.
Oh my god. Here, actually, let's just go to Poe. I feel like Poe will answer my question faster. GPT 3.5 Turbo.
Is this what?
What is the name of the schooling that you pay for, is private, and allows kids some self-directed study? Montessori, that's what it's called.
What the hell?
Montessori education. Why could I not think of that stupid word? Yeah, Montessori education is a type of education method that involves children's natural interests and activities rather than formal teaching methods. The Montessori classroom places an emphasis on hands-on learning and developing real-world skills. It emphasizes independence. It views children as naturally eager for knowledge and capable of initiating learning in a sufficiently supportive and well-prepared learning environment. It also discourages some conventional measures of achievement, such as grade and tests. So basically, like, from my understanding, is it's like a room that these kids are in, and there's a bunch of stations, and the kids can just kind of like wander to the stations and like do stuff. And the teachers do teach things, but the things that they teach still seem like basic, like public education, like instilled type of general morality and like geography. Like there are like, it isn't totally hands off, but there's like a balance, right? And my cousin's going through that. I have a little cousin that is at a Montessori school and has been doing Montessori the whole time. So we'll see how he turns out.
Yeah, we'll see. You know what? Talk to me in like 10 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna see it. And he's like an iPad child. Mm-hmm. Like he had like tons of toys growing up. He had he had like a Switch when he was like 4. He had like quads. Like they spoiled the crap out of him. So that might play a role into the difference. I'm curious to see.
So now he has to be like Jeff Bezos to continue to afford his lifestyle.
I really wonder. I wonder if there is that same impressing need of like, you have to be perfect sort of thing because we paid or put so much investment. Like, I don't know what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I don't know. Like, raising a child's pretty weird. Yeah. Like, especially with the, like, whenever it comes to their education, like, you want to put pressure on them to do well, but at the same time, it's like, if you do that too much, then they, like, end up, like, just being a people pleaser that can't, like, get enough attention or whatever.
Yeah, all their validation.
There's all this, like, negative, it's like everything that you do has, like, this, like, double as bad negative side effect, but it comes with a good perk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really weird, dude.
There's like, and somewhere in there's a winning combination. It's just that no one can tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah, it honestly seems to me like when people have children, they're just pulling the slot machine on teaching them, and they just like toss them an iPad. They send them to this school. They they have like a general idea of like this. They have a witch's cauldron of like all of the things that they're throwing into their kid. They're like, we're gonna make the perfect person, but it's like all just like random ersatz ideas that aren't fully thought out. It's like, well, Jeff Bezos had a Montessori education. It's like, I heard lately that children don't develop peanut butter allergies if they eat peanut butter right when they're born.
They never get a chance to become allergic to it because they're always eating it.
I believe I can make my child the Ubermensch if I get him every single vaccine. Did you watch the, man, what is that? I can't think of it. Captain America getting changed, or tested on. My kid can only become Captain America if he gets the same testing. She just keeps enrolling him into all these experimental drug clinical trials. Yeah. What if I just have him try every antibacterial on the market and see how immune he is to everything?
Drink this hand sanitizer, please.
I heard children can develop a resistance to Lyme disease if they get a lot of ticks when they're young.
Just lock them in a room with a bunch of ticks. This will help him with his fear of bugs.
And then she's on the computer, looking up unschooling. This makes sense.
Ship the box with the bugs and the child in it to the unschooling class.
I'm gonna make sure
we'll cut a hole.
Oh my God, there's a lack of bees in the United States. Let's buy those and throw those in the room too. I'll make sure my kid understands apiaries before they're 4.
Yeah, pretty much. So
that's the plan. I don't get it, dude. It is, child rearing. It seems like a rough gamble.
It's wacky.
A gamble.
It is.
But I hate the iPad. Expecting the iPad to police the things that your child sees is really annoying.
I think part of that too is if you went to a school where no one had iPads, no one talked about iPads, none of the families owned iPads, you wouldn't have to care about iPads. But if one family has the iPad, then one kid goes to school and he's like, my dad has iPad, and all the other kids are like, I need it. I need the iPad, Mom. And then it becomes difficult. I think that there's more to it, obviously, because I get why you would eventually give in just to be like, I need to go clean the bathroom. If I give my child the iPad, I get 20 minutes.
You know what?
You know what I mean?
There's an interesting thought there. And another interesting thought I had is the ultimate irony is that if people tagged these videos on YouTube the same way they invest into tagging porn on a porn website, it would be a lot easier to determine the type of content your kid is watching.
Who is an adult that's going to do the tagging that watches YouTube Kids? Is my question.
That's the problem. There's no incentive.
Yeah.
But if there was an incentive, we're going to give you,
you get paid.
Yeah, you get paid to tag these videos accurately, then maybe. I don't know. This all will be solved and even worse. It'll be solved in a way, and there will be even worse problems when AI gets better.
Yeah. There'll be different ones.
Yeah, the AI will be able to watch hundreds of thousands of videos at once.
And kids.
And tag them and steal personal info, and then also create a whole new slew of problems to deal with in the next decade.
Excellent.
I cannot wait. I'm very excited.
I think the AI junk. So there's an interview with. I keep touching the guitar with the.
That's okay.
But I watched an interview that had Mark Zuckerberg and it's a lady on YouTube that's like, we focus on positive news stories with technology. Yeah, I don't know if you know who, Chloe something maybe.
No.
I don't know, but she had an interview with Mark Zuckerberg and the Zuck was talking about he's like, no, we worked on all that. VR technology, and realistically we think that AR, something that just can put stuff into your real vision, is what the real end goal is, because the problem with a phone is that you have to take it out of your pocket and it takes you away from what you're doing. And so if you were able to just implement all the features of this into your everyday reality, you'd just be able to be seamlessly whatever.
Yeah, that's amazing, Zuckerberg. The problem is that the phone isn't already scrolling when you wake up.
That's true.
That you're not on
the
Facebook feed. You're not within the ecosystem initially. That's the problem.
The
problem is that the second your eyelids fucking flitter open, you need to have billboard advertisements augmented reality into your vision.
And then he'll be like, yeah, but you can see your friends at any time with their avatars. They'll come in.
I can't wait. Yeah.
I'm taking a shit right now. Yeah, let me walk around with my avatar.
Look how realistic this looks. Gets up off the toilet. Look at that.
Look, you can see the shit coming off my ass. I got the toilet sensors, dude.
Yeah, I had to pay extra DLC for this. Yeah, honestly, that is really funny because I remember watching a video about those like social media sites preying on people by making sure that no matter what direction they swipe, there's always content.
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting that, yeah, the next obvious evolution of this is to make sure that there's no way to swipe away. That, like, you're just immediately within the ecosystem the second you wake up.
You're like, there's like music playing in the background. It's the
yeah, you
and
can't avoid it.
As soon as you're like waking up, like going, oh, I got a notification.
Yeah, literally, it's like, oh, you have 30 notifications and like 28 of them are ads and like 2 of them are like your AI friends that don't exist.
And the other ones are like your real friends and it tells you when they take a shit every day. And it's like, oh, 2 people beat me today. Damn it.
Yeah.
It becomes really popular in the future.
Honestly, I cannot wait till augmented reality is an interface with the reality that we're in already. That's gonna be amazing.
But the way that he puts it is like
it's a problem.
No. Like he's like coming in like your phone's such an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna make it so much more convenient by just constantly hitting your eyeball.
Literally, he's like, it's so inconvenient to look at a phone. If only your phone was like this.
This is your vision.
He's like, oh shit, I think I solved it. Thanks, Zuckerberg.
Oh God, but yeah, so
genius.
He thinks 10-year.
Yeah.
Where it's over. But
I was just talking with my buddy last night about this, is that it's always like there's so many questions that need to be answered like logistically for why this thing exists. Like, and I talked about this to talk about with a less provocative topic. We in one of our older episodes, I had read a book, and in the book they had talked about how like Advil or some kind of pharmaceutical company had advertised in South America by painting on dogs. Mm-hmm. And we made this whole joke thing about like, what are the logistics of some independent contractor going to a South America and like, what does he need? He needs like spray paint. Does he have to tranquilize the dogs? Is there like a sausage fund to lure the dogs to the van? Like, is there some way to incapacitate the dog temporarily?
Figure it out when you get there.
Is there a big poster board that has the logo cut out so that they can quickly spray paint on? Is it paint or something long lasting? Do they care about like the health of the dog? Do they pick a dog particularly that's like bigger or smaller because there's more surface area for what to put the logo on?
You only pick the big dogs.
Yeah, do they release the dog in a particular area where they think there'll be more people to see the dog? Is it more likely that a friendly dog is going to be seen more, or do they pick a more feral dog so that somebody doesn't wipe off the paint on it? Like, there's so many logistical questions that are asked, and I feel like Zuckerberg just sits in this fucking office with like 20 other like brain rotted like Facebook Meta AI characters. And he's like, how do we make sure that people can interface with our app environment from the second they wake up to the second they fall asleep every day?
This is how we make money, folks.
Yeah. Maybe if we get rid of the dislike button.
We just caused some outrage.
I love the idea of people never being able to see one facet of reality. That is the negative aspect of reality. What if everything they see, they want to see, and they want to see because the algorithm determines it's what they want to see?
Yeah.
Like,
you don't need to see reality. You just need your own bubble.
So, good transition. Let's transition to reality. My hiking trip, absolute failure.
Yeah.
Where do you want me to start?
All right. So here, so you got sick.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you a cure.
Yeah.
Here you go. You just take a droplet of that and put it into your throat.
Yeah, that looks great.
It's propolis.
What is propolis?
It's bee stuff. You're going to want to sip some water afterwards.
Okay, should I do it now?
Yeah. Yeah, we've done this on the podcast where we've done like weird gross stuff, and so I wanted you to just... Yeah, there you go.
It kind of has like no flavor, but like an alcoholic flavor.
Oh, it has its alcohol in it as well, but it's that's just to mix with the propolis.
It doesn't taste bad.
You sure?
Yeah,
it tastes like
I mean, I eat kale, so.
Yeah, but kale doesn't taste bad.
It's like bitter. My bitter flavor palate is much more developed.
I think the thing with the propolis is that it's basically bee pollen.
Okay.
And they kind of like chewed on it and spit it out.
And so you mix that with alcohol to like distill it or something, and then
because it doesn't mix into anything. It's like a solid, and so you have to keep beating it up. But basically, so I just wanted to tell you, my wife she's been sick, and every single time that she's been sick, I get sick. And so my dad, he makes this, and he swears by it. And so I'm like, all right, I'll try it. So every day, when I woke up and before I went to bed, I did a little bit of that, didn't get sick. Yeah. It may not be real, but it might just be whatever.
I would say anything that's like generally healthy, like bee pollen, I'm assuming is antibacterial as normal honey and stuff. Because like I had a friend that had like pink eye, probably from like eating ass or something, and I had him rub honey on his eye, and it like soothed them, and it cleared up within like a couple of days.
Yeah.
So. And I think the same. I generally drink like a lot of ginger turmeric tea. It was just that like intermission between the trip and then getting back into my swing of habits, and then I had overexerted myself on the trip, and I think that like allowed me to like have a weaker immune system.
Yeah,
to be able. And I don't even think I was sick with whatever my girlfriend had. I think it was just some sort of like infection or something from. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, just because I didn't have the same coughing, phlegm, whatever. I just had like a fever, essentially. So.
Anyway, I just wanted to break, because remember a long time ago I was like, you got to try the propolis, and so now I was like, oh, he was sick.
It honestly isn't bad. I don't mind it.
No, it's not bad. It's for some reason, because it's been in my pocket for a little bit. Normally I keep it in the fridge. I think when it's in the fridge, it's somehow worse. Like that wasn't that bad. But whenever like I wake up first thing in the morning and you just drop some of that on your tongue, it's like,
that's kind of funny.
But anyway.
Yeah. So the trip. So
start at the beginning. I guess.
Yeah, I guess we'll start at the beginning. So the first day I had gone to Gabe's house. So first off, to start this, 8 people. We had like 8 or 9 people like originally for the trip itinerary.
Yeah.
All of them dropped out, except for Gabe, JJ, myself. We're the only people to even try this.
3 people.
Yeah, and all of those people were only going to do half as well. They were only going to do 3 days.
And they just gave up entirely.
And they didn't even start.
Damn.
Only one of them had like a reasonable excuse of his car blew up and he didn't have like the rest of them just completely bitched out, essentially. Okay, so we're already above in that regard.
You just had to say that you were still going, and then you didn't have to do anything else. You were better.
Yeah, I was already better than the other like 60-70% of people that had dropped out. So just by virtue of even attempting it, we're slightly up. So I go to Gabe's house and he's packing stuff and he can't fit all of his food in his bear thing that he has. So he's struggling with that. And so I asked him, I was like, well, they're taking 2 cars, so why don't we leave one car at the midway point and then leave one car at the end point, and then from the midway point take a shuttle to the beginning, and then start at the beginning and hopefully go to the mid. Like that was our goal. Because it's a 70-mile thing. We had planned for it to take 7 days. That isn't what ended up happening. And then our goal was to stop at every single camp, because there's like a camp like on average about every like 8 to 10 miles. It's on average because there's one that's 5 miles and there's one that's 16 miles at the most. So there's different. And then I'll get into that anyways. But so we ended up doing that. We did the midway. We got there at night, and then they had a hotel room, and we had dropped one car off at the end point. And then in the morning, we drove to the midpoint, and then had a shuttle take us to the beginning point, and then we started. Now, what this allowed us to do is to half our food. We could put half of our food in the car, so we didn't have to carry it. And then at the halfway point, we could reassess whether or not we needed to remove stuff or whatever, because this is all of our first times attempting anything like this. So it ended up going pretty horribly wrong. So the first day, so I had... to start with, the food prep is the most important part of my journey, because I had been trying 3 things. 1, to do it barefoot. 2, to do it with food that isn't astronaut food, and 3, to make the journey.
Yeah.
Okay, and we kind of failed in most of those respects, but we'll get to how I failed in each of the respects. So the food I had prepared like Friday night. I had taken liver, I'd soaked it in milk, and then I'd cut it up, and then I had wrapped it in cheesecloth, soaked it in vinegar, and then I'd put multiple layers of aluminum foil on it, and then I'd put it in a bread box. Well, I'd frozen it and then put it in a bread box or whatever.
Okay, so that was a lot.
Yeah. So that is how I prepared the meat. So I did that for liver and onions, and I did that for steak.
Okay.
Those are and then I had bacon as well for the liver and onions. So I had 3 types of meat. And my thought originally was that the bacon was going to last the longest because it has preservatives in it.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Smoked.
Yeah. So we'll get to how it ended up turning out. So by the time I ended up eating the liver and onions, I'll skip ahead a little bit and then I'll go back. That was like 3 or 4 days of it thawing. Okay. Because it was like we had gotten to the hotel and they didn't have a freezer, so it was thawing. And then so by the time I was like at Gabe's house, thawing, and then it was at the hotel, thawing, and then it was day 1 on the trail, thawing, and then day 2 in the morning is when I finally ate the liver and onions. Okay, and it didn't have any problems.
Okay,
3 to 4 days of thawing, soaked in milk.
Perfectly fine.
Worked. Somehow worked. I don't know. Probably a lot of things against me.
Yeah.
But it had worked.
It worked. Okay.
It worked. And then to skip ahead a little bit, the steak, which I ended up eating even later, worked as well.
Okay.
No problem.
So you did the freezer thing good.
So all of those, those all worked. That food preservation strategy worked great. So now we're going to go back to the start of the journey, okay? And then the eggs and obviously all the vegetables ended up lasting. I ended up throwing out the spinach because I had left it in the car and it ended up getting
wilted,
soggy.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't wilt because if I had opened it up, it would have wilted. But I had left it in a bag because I had hoped that it would contain the moisture. But the containment of the moisture ended up making it like get really soggy or whatever.
Especially with the heat.
So I tossed that. I ended up throwing out the jalapenos as well because I didn't end up wanting or craving hot peppers at all by the time I was done. And then my ginger turmeric lasted fine. I made ginger turmeric tea like most of the days, boiled it and everything. And then what else? The eggs worked perfectly fine as well. The difficulty with the eggs is I had 2 dozen eggs and I brought 1 dozen and then I had broken a few accidentally and I'd given the other dozen to Gabe and he promptly broke them the first day. All of them. He had dropped his thing and just fucking broke all of them. So I had eggs for my final days. I had cans of tuna that I mixed with the eggs as well as like some oatmeal. Worked fine. Probably my best meal.
Food?
Yeah.
You did okay.
Food fucking worked pretty good.
Okay.
The only thing I ended up regretting is that I'd wish I'd gotten more salt. Like salted nuts because I had unsalted nuts, but by the time of all the sweating and the exertion,
you need the electrolytes.
I wanted So the only thing I would do differently is I would probably get some liquid IV. I would definitely bring that. I would probably bring more water than I did because I'll get to it, but I ended up running out of water the first day, and then I would probably have some more sodium. And my fruit was great. All the rest of the stuff lasted pretty much fine. Didn't have any problem with it. Yeah. So the only category I succeed in, pretty much, is the fucking food. And the food, surprisingly, after multiple days of it thawing and whatever in my bag.
Yeah.
So anyways, so first day, we get there. The problem with the first day is that the initial part of getting onto the trail is like a couple thousand feet of incline. That is like the first 5 miles of the trail.
Oh, just straight up.
Essentially just kind of like a progressive incline, okay? And I had started barefoot. And what I didn't realize is that the mountains have a lot more rocks than you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily a problem for my feet. I wasn't getting cut up. The rocks were like pretty smooth, but it ended up making my pace incredibly slow.
Yeah.
And then the guys ended up getting ahead and having to wait and wait and wait. And after a certain point, I was like, no, just go ahead. I'll continue. And because I wanted to do it barefoot.
Yeah.
Now my pack, we weighed it before we left. Before I had taken anything out or added without water, it was 44 pounds.
Okay.
Okay. Now the problem is twofold. one, the backpack is 40 years old.
Okay.
Probably 30 to 40 years old.
Ooh.
And was not which isn't necessarily a bad thing. The bad thing is that a lot of backpack technology has changed and improved over like 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was my first mistake. The second thing, I packed way too fucking heavy. I had basically, with water and everything included and the stuff that I had taken, the absolutely brain dead shit I had taken. Like, I had taken like a glass salt shaker. Like, I had taken the dumbest shit.
You could have put in a plastic bag.
I brought a fucking cutting board, bro. Like, I brought like a full-ass kitchen knife. I was so dumb. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. So, like, that ended up killing me, basically, was all the weight I had packed. I had overpacked a 40, like, probably a 40-year-old bag, and the straps were breaking on the bag. So it ended up being all shoulder weight that I'm bearing 50 pounds on, right? And that's, like, it was terrible. And the only relief in sight was that hopefully after a couple days, we would get to the midway point and I could drop some of the weight.
Yeah.
That's part of what happened, but I ended up losing and giving up much a day sooner than I should have, because I couldn't take it with the weight. So what ended up happening is they go ahead, and then I end up getting fucking lost.
Oh no!
Yeah, I get lost and add like a mile or two onto my thing, and the guys are like, first day, even though we started at like late, like 12, like I think we started at like 1 or 2 because of waiting for the shuttle, getting the time, whatever. They wanted to do they wanted to skip the first shelter, which was only 5 miles in, and go to the next shelter after that, which was like another 10, 11, 12 miles away. They wanted to do all that in the first day. And I was like, holy shit, guys. Like, if we had just done the first shelter and, like, worked up to it, I think maybe I would have been like, okay, I need to drop weight. I need to figure out something to do, whatever. But we full sent it, basically, okay? We full sent it. That was the plan. And so I got lost, ended up adding time, and then they said they were going to be at the first shelter, but we didn't realize at that time that all of the shelters aren't on the trail. They're like 1 to 2 miles off of the trail. So you have to leave the trail 1 to 2 miles, go to the shelter, and then go 1 to 2 miles to get back onto the trail.
Jesus.
So like it's almost disadvantageous to even stop at that shelter in particular, or even go to a shelter in general, because you have to add so much more time.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't realize is that the human general, like after looking at the averages, JJ was timing all of the miles that he did with Gabe, as well as I ended up walking with him the second day. But he timed it, and it's like on average a mile takes about like 20 to like 28 minutes. In the mountains.
Yeah.
If it's like a different terrain, it's obviously much different. So you're thinking about on average like a 24-minute mile. That's about how long it takes. And you got like 10 to 16 miles potentially to go every single day.
Yeah.
Even more with the added of going to the shelter. If you have to go to the parking lot, that's the other time, like etc. So anyways, I have to do the walking, okay? And I am dying. I get lost. I give up. I put on my shoes, okay?
Yeah.
First thing I didn't realize is that there is a thing called hiking socks. I'm just using random socks I have, okay? And I end up getting these fucking nasty blisters. They're mostly healed. I mean, but
right on the bottom of your foot.
You can see how big they are.
because you're scraping on the bottom of your,
Yeah, and both sides. Yeah, they're fucking huge. Okay, those didn't appear till day 2. But I think it's because I was like leaning forward with this backpack to try to take some of the weight off, because it's 50 pounds, and I'm carrying it all on my shoulders. Okay, so it ends up, I'm out there, I run out of water probably like 6 p.m. or something like that, and it takes me till 12 at night to get to the fucking camp.
Oh my God.
Dude,
So
I'm walking in the dark with just a headlamp for hours, and I'm probably going like 0.5 miles per hour or something. Like I'm going, it's terrible. I have to keep taking breaks. Like I was not conditioned to carry 50 pounds on my shoulders at all, and it was absolute terrible. So I finally crawl into camp at like 12, and I'm like, Gabe, please, I need you to set up my hammock, because I didn't know how to set up the hammock at this point. And he's like laughing his ass off, and he said it was like I'm just like a husk of a person like crawling on the ground by that. Like, yeah, so I'm completely fucking dead.
Into camp.
And like I would, if a bear attacked me in the woods, I'd just be done. Like, yeah,
it's over. No dodge rolling.
The one thing I did see, which I thought was pretty cool though, is I saw a porcupine. I got a video of it. It was on the trail, and I was like, I'm not getting anywhere near you. Like, just keep fucking moving.
Keep waddling
along. And it's like waddling away. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I kind of want a quill, but I don't want to pay the price for a quill as well. It would be pretty cool, because they're really loose on them. Yeah. So like, but no. So anyways, I crawl into camp. Gabe sets up my thing for me. Thank God, that was awesome. And I didn't eat at this point or anything. Yeah. I think I survived off of mainly bananas, because I was like, I just need fruit. I need something. Yeah, I just keep pulling out. I have like cut up broccoli that I'm just sitting there like eating. I didn't have energy to figure out my cooking anything. Yeah. So I was like, fuck it. And I didn't want to like just cook in the woods, because I feel like that would have attracted something more. And it was dark. I only had a headlamp. Like, how am I going to defend myself? So whatever. Morning happens, and I finally get a chance to test my cookware. So the problem with my cookware is, one, it's a very old Coleman stove, okay? This isn't necessarily a problem, but it doesn't use propane. It uses white fuel. Yeah. I couldn't find white fuel. So luckily, because my thing is so old, it is a dual fuel thing, and we filled it up with unleaded gasoline. And surprisingly, that worked amazing. Yeah. The only difficulty with it is that it was kind of scary to light every time, because it would just
like combust.
Yeah, you have to like pump it. Pump it into the line. Yeah, you have a little knob. It pumps it in, and then you lock it, and then you have to like turn it, and the lever is like way too close to the flame, and then you gotta light it, and then you gotta like keep it going for a little bit. But worked great. I had no problem with it. I made the liver and onions. I ate it. I had some weird throat problem like the first day or something. I don't know if I had gotten a sickness. I don't know if maybe the random clover I picked on the fucking trail and ate was a bad move.
It might have
I don't know. Whatever the case, I had a throat problem, and I didn't really enjoy the food very much, but I ate as much as I could. Yeah. And I packed it up. And by this point, my legs are like fucked. Like, I already can hardly like walk. I feel like I'm dying. Like, every step is like a fucking labor of psychological, mental, spiritual, and physical strength. Like, I'm exercising. So like the second day I was like, guys, I need you to like stay with me, like, because it's gonna take me forever to try to make this. And the next day it was like another like 13 to 15 miles, as well as getting back on the trail.
How heavy were their packs?
So their packs were pretty heavy too. They were about like I think they were like 35, 40 pounds, but I carried the most weight at like 50 pounds. I think they were able to reduce a lot of their weight because they all brought like dehydrated food, and they halved all of it and left it at the car. And I did half my food and leave it at the car. I probably would have been a 60-pound bag if I carried all my food with me. Yeah. But I didn't have the capacity. That was probably the only thing that saved me, is that my bag wouldn't let me physically carry more stuff. So I wasn't able to carry all my food. And I would say technically we all end up failing in this regard, for nobody brought 7 days worth of equipment the entire time. Yeah. That was just not, we did not plan appropriately for that. So we all failed in that respect, if that was part of the goal. So anyways, second day, I'm keeping up with him, but I gotta keep calling for breaks. I'm like, dude, I need a break. I need a break. And I feel bad, but like I'm trying my best, because I'm carrying this fucking weight. And we're obviously, it's a little bit more stable. There's obviously still hills and stuff, and I'm wearing shoes, but that's when I get these horrible blisters. So I got these blisters on my feet. My shoulders are like completely fucked. I'm trying to carry 50 pounds, and I managed to do it barely. Like, they got this picture of me. I'm completely fucking deflated. They had taken a break to do some like lunchtime, and I just slept for like 40 minutes. Like, I passed out. I couldn't, like, I could not continue. Like, yeah. And
do you still have the backpack on? You're just sitting down?
Yeah, literally. Like, I lay the backpack down. Here, actually, I think I have the picture.
Okay, I get it.
I'll pull it up. Here, let me make sure they can. Well, I'll pull it up and then we can swap to their view.
Yeah.
But it's like a complete. Like I'm like this is one of the things Gabe is like fucking dying day 2, I think. Just soul leaving his body. Yeah, here it is. This is me completely dead sleeping. Let me swap it over so they can see. Completely gone. I just passed out. The backpack's like I'm like laying on my sleeping bag, like
just
completely done, giving up.
That's like the middle of the trail.
Yeah, dude, and that was like halfway on day 2. Like it was a little bit more than halfway, and we still had like another 8 miles to go. So they had to like wake me up, and then I'm like continuing. I'm like, oh fuck, dude.
I'm still here.
Yeah. So we I get to the end of that day, and there's like one more giant hill I have to climb, and I'm like, guys, just go ahead. I'm sure the shelter is like just another mile away. I think we had like 1 or 2 miles left, but I was like, I need to take a break, and it needs to be like more than 5 minutes, or we were doing like 3-minute breaks.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but I just needed to sit down. So I like sit down, had my like moment where I'm like, God, I am so much weaker than I thought I was. This is like a huge ego check.
Yeah.
Like I'm proud of my ability. Like I'm both weaker and stronger than I thought I was. Because to be able to carry that weight for that much time for 2 days is like so much suffering. So I let them go ahead, and I waited like 40 minutes. I recorded some footage of myself just being like, God, this fucking sucks, essentially, which I'll edit into the video probably. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I have a bunch of random footage of me cooking and different stuff like that. But, and yeah, then I had to climb this fucking hill with another 50 pounds, basically. Probably like 45 at that point because the water's getting low or whatever. But had to carry that up the hill, and then I had to carry it all the way to the camp. And then set up my hammock. I figured out the hammock setup thing about day 3, but what we ended up doing is I didn't have the strength to continue after day 2. I was fucking done. My legs were broken. My knees were completely fucked.
Yep.
Terrible. So what they decided to do is they're like, okay, well, if you stay at camp, we don't have to carry our sleeping equipment, all of our food. Like, we can drop our weight to basically nothing and then do one of the hardest days of the thing, which is 16 miles. And it ended up being even more because they had to go to the parking lot, they had to go to the shelter, they had to drive back to our shelter. So, like, their goal was to just come back to camp and sleep, and then we drive to the midway point and then go from there, essentially.
So they were going to go back?
Yeah, what they were going to do is they were just going to reduce their weight by 20 or 30 pounds, do the walk for the day, and then get the car at the midway point, and then drive back to camp, and then just sleep there for the day.
Yeah.
And so that's what we ended up doing. So we slept at the day 2 camp.
So you hung out at the base?
I just hung out at the camp, relaxing, trying to get like firewood and stuff, because they had some wood, but I had to split other wood, whatever. I had to pump. All the water was pumped.
Yep.
And obviously it's in the mountains, so it takes a while to pump all the water, and then we had to filter it all. So I tried to get all that stuff up and ready for them when they had returned. And I tried to scout a little bit, but I could hardly walk at that point. And then I met some of the locals, which I heard they talked about how they used to do like relay races back before COVID. And they claim that the record for doing the Laurel Highlands 70 miles is 10 hours and 33 minutes. You'd have to go more than 7 miles an hour running the entire trail, which is possible, I'm sure, but it's got to be crazy. So, and they also said that they didn't think anybody has ever done the trail barefoot. So that's potentially a challenge I can consider doing in the future. And I think I could do it, but obviously with not 50 pounds on my back.
Yeah. You got to figure out how to like pack light enough to get through that.
And that's the difficulty with hiking, is that the more expensive gear is ultra light.
Oh yeah.
But it's ultra light. So.
Yeah. It's the same thing with everything that's outdoors, because like, oh, you know what's really good for like grouse hunting is like the lightest, most expensive shotgun.
Yeah.
Do you know what the best mountain bike is? A carbon fiber one that costs thousands of dollars, but it's really expensive.
Yeah.
It's like...
So that's what we did day 2. We like made a little fire, relaxed. They had these really nice shelters that was basically just like 3 walls and then like kind of like a big chimney blocking most of the view. And then you could put wood in there or whatever.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And then day 3, I'm trying to remember what happened. I think we drove to the midway point, and I think Gabe was like dead after that. I can't remember. He ended up taking time off. I think he let JJ do a majority of this section, and then he drove back to do like a 5 mile stretch that was just flat. Mm-hmm. Because after day 3 of like doing the 16 miles, he was fucking dead.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he had lost all his willpower. He didn't know if he was gonna like continue. I think day 3 or 4 or whatever, that was when. And they already were on an accelerated timeline because we had planned to do this in 7 days, but because we skipped the shelter the first day, they were trying to do it in 6 days.
Yeah.
So, and you can obviously take much longer to do this than what we did.
Oh, yeah, you
but
could
they're
have
trying
taken,
to like race through
yeah.
it. So
3 or 4 days, you could have just sat at a camp and like,
yeah.
oh, I feel better now.
Yeah, and then ready and continue. Mm-hmm. So then we ended up going to the next checkpoint. Yeah, I think that's what ended up happening. Whatever. We ended up doing some kind of camp finagling, but Gabe ended up doing like half of one of those days. And overall, at the end, what ends up happening is Gabe ends up doing like 4.5 days. I end up doing 3 days of walking, which I'll get to. And then JJ's the only one that does all of the trail.
Damn.
Through. And it was hard. Really funny because he's 35, much older than Gabe and I. Gabe is like 30, I'm 28. And then, so like I had asked him, I was like, well, what kind of training do you do? Like, what kind of exercise? He's like, oh, I don't do any exercise. I'm like, I don't believe it. What exercise do you do? He's like, oh, well, I walk my dog every day and I wear like a 20-pound weighted vest. I'm
That'll
like,
do
oh,
it.
yeah, just
casual,
a little bit of exercise.
Yeah,
casual exercise. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we were bragging on him for that. Like, oh, I don't do any exercise. I just, 20-pound weighted vest.
Yeah, I just walk like, I don't know, maybe like 5 miles a day with a 20-pound vest. I don't know.
While I walk my dog. It's really nothing, honestly. Really nothing.
I've been doing it for like 8 years, so it's really not hard.
I'm not conditioned at all. So yeah, he was definitely, there for the trip. And I told him too, because he was thinking about like not doing the thing. I was like, JJ, if you're capable of doing the whole trip, like don't let us stop you. We will support you 100%. And like I am already
You're
dead.
Just a support
I'm pretty
crew.
much I became the support character.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I'm gonna like I'll be at camp. I'll get like the wood ready. I'll get the water purified.
I'll cook your food.
Like, the food I ended up making, they ended up eating as well because I had a lot of food and it was all fresh. And they were tired of their like dehydrated meals.
Oh yeah.
And their they didn't like the eggs. That was like the biggest complaint is all the dehydrated eggs
they're gross.
Taste horrible. Yeah. So I had like fresh food. I made shakshuka, which was like eggs, tomato, onions, like pepper, like all this stuff. Cooked it up, sautéed it with like garlic, and it was super good. And they probably appreciated it by the end after going through all that stuff. So it ends up, whatever. We camp at these random camps. I stay at camp for a couple days. Gabe flits in and out depending on the day and what he wants to do. And then the final day, I wanted to like go out again and give it another shot. So the final day is the most difficult day elevation-wise. Okay?
Yeah.
My knees are completely fucked, but I had the advantage of Gabe was tapping out. He needed a Philly cheesesteak, so he wanted to just... he was like, we were joking about him going all the way to Philadelphia to get it, but it was like a 5-hour drive, and we weren't going to be that long. So, But he ended up getting his Philly cheesesteak. There was also a day where he got McDonald's and stuff. Like, he just driving around, he was waiting for JJ. He's like, I need something.
Just gotta get
It was so
food.
Funny. Yeah. So anyways, I ended up taking his backpack since he was done going to get his Philly cheesesteak. And then I was going to do just with water, basically, the final day with JJ. And it was only like 7 or 8 miles, probably a little bit longer because we had to get to the parking lot and everything after. But the problem with it is it's the hardest day because you have to go... We had to start at the top of a mountain, descend a mountain. So thousands of feet in elevation.
Yeah.
And we had to go up another mountain and then descend it again.
Yeah.
Which is another thousands of feet of elevation. Then we had to go up another mountain and then down it again for the finish.
Yeah.
So it was like going down 3 mountains and up 2, essentially. And my legs are fucked. My knees are broken. And I realized this because... and this is something I figured out as I was walking. So they recommend generally for hikers that you wear barefoot shoes. The problem is that, one, I didn't have hiking socks, so I had horrible blisters. The second thing is that I think it depends on the terrain you're hiking in, because what I really wanted was like a big, thick heel that I could gain some more purchase of my steps as I was descending these really steep mountainous slopes. And I didn't have that. So what ended up happening is I have blisters on the tops of my feet, so I can't like compensate by like using the balls of my feet. So I'm hitting it with my heel, but that's all going to my knees.
Yeah.
Because I have to keep heel striking. And also I walk fucking duck footed.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize this until after doing 30 miles of walking, but that like makes your legs bow and like have awkward weight, especially when you're carrying 50 pounds excess like on you. Like I think I need to like straighten my feet and learn to walk like this. And then I also think I need like toe spreaders to gain the stability, because my feet are like so confined from being in shoes for so long that my big toe isn't facing inward to give me the stability I need, which is why I compensated by walking duck footed over time. So whatever, that's just some of my guesses as to why. But I would have rather have just done normal shoe, like hiking boots or something.
Yeah, boots I think are the way, because that gives you the heel. And
so the final day is when I ended up joining the wild animal sting club, because both the guys had gotten stung by bees on the previous day. And Gabe actually, his fucking lips swelled up. Like he had an allergic reaction to it. Luckily, he didn't have like any kind of throat or tongue swelling, so he didn't like choke out and die or anything. But he's like considering carrying like an EpiPen now after that.
Yeah.
So we're on this mountainous region and we're going through these mountains. My legs are completely gone. And we notice this like little like white tape. And then on the tape, it says bees with like multiple exclamation points. So I'm like, oh, fuck. So what we did was we ran as fast as we could through that section and then hoped that we didn't get stung. And we didn't get stung, thank goodness. But then I started noticing little pieces of tissue that were like dropped on their side. And I was like, okay, is that like just garbage, or is somebody like warning us of like further bees? And as I'm walking, I feel something land on the back of my leg and sting me fucking twice. And I just yell like, ow, and start running. And JJ's like, what happened? I'm like, just fucking run.
We gotta
like,
go.
Don't do it. And I started noticing it. Like after you get stung, you can kind of see them. They just float above the ground, like hover like 4 to 6 inches.
Oh, they're mud wasps.
Yeah, they're like these like mud wasps, and all they do is like they attack on sight. Like you don't get any, like the mountain bees are made of some different shit, bro. They just sting on sight.
They're not like those city bees.
Yeah, they're not like the city bees that just go up in the corners of like little businesses and make their little fucking wasp. But no, these bees are like, you're fucking going down.
Yeah.
And
you're in my yard.
Yeah, I got double stung, joined the club. That was pretty great. I didn't have much of a reaction to it other than it was like kind of itchy a little bit and hurt initially. But my legs were so fucked at that point that was all I was really caring about. Like the little sting, my knees were so much worse. I'm walking like a stiff-legged pirate at this point, and I'm trying to ascend a mountain and descend it, and I'm like dying. I got this stick I'm like cradling as my third leg. Oh man,
Jesus,
it was terrible. But we finally we did it. So I ended up all in all doing 3 days of walking, and if you total out the like miles, I think it's like 35 miles of the trail. So I did a little bit more than half, or maybe about half the trail. And then there's obviously the added miles of all of the shelter walking, getting lost, and all of that extra stuff. So I probably did like, I want to say like 40, probably more than 40 miles, but I definitely at least did half the trail because I did 3 days of the trail.
Damn.
And there were 6 days total. So yeah, and then JJ was the only one that made it through all the days.
Damn.
Yeah, amazing. Very proud of him for that. That was a crazy achievement. And we know how hard it is because we attempted it. So yeah, fucking nuts. And then the hammock sleeping, like I said, I figured out day 3. There's like a finessing to it. It's very nice to sleep in a hammock. I had no trouble with that at all. My food worked pretty good. Didn't have any complaints about that. Probably would change up a few things there. Water purifier worked perfectly. I had a drip feed one, which was much better than the shit Gabe had. Gabe had like a fucking water bottle that he had to pump full, and then he had to squeeze the water through this filter at the top of it. But it was a tiny thing, so it couldn't hold much.
So you're,
my drip filter could hold like almost 2 gallons of water. So I could just pump that bag full, hang it up, and then I just drip feed it through the filter. Yeah, so that was much better. Honestly, though, if I were to give, and I'm going to talk about this in my YouTube video, the advice that I would give is there's only 3 things you need to spend money on. That's it, okay? and it is one, your backpack.
Yeah.
Your interface with your gear is the most important, probably, thing you could have. Second most important thing is your interface with the ground. Whatever you're wearing, shoe-wise, sock-wise, you need to figure that out, 100%. The third thing is, the thing you're going to spend the most time doing, and is also very important, is your night sleeping gear, whatever it is. The recovery time, you need to be as... you need to take advantage of that time that you're not walking to recover. So those are the three important things. Your interface with your gear, your interface with the ground, and your interface with sleeping. Those are the three things you got to spend money on. Everything else you can run with shit gear. You could do completely ass, and it would be fine.
If you got legendary boots, you can make it through.
Literally, I think I could have done that whole fucking...
If you have a blue backpack, kill yourself.
This might be hubris, and I may try it at some point, but I feel I could do that whole thing fasting with just water. I think it's possible and I've only fasted for 3 days with just water before, and obviously there's the addition of walking.
Exercise.
Yeah, but I think that carrying the less weight is more important than the food. I don't know.
I think that's why people bring the astronaut food that sucks ass, because they're like, well, this... at least I can eat a meal and have because you do get an energy boost from eating. So I think that helps you more than not eating and carrying less.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's some give and take for what you want to do.
You should make pemmican.
Yeah, I considered pemmican, actually. That was on my list of things to consider. I was like, do I want to make pemmican? I was also considering making kimchi and just bringing that as well. Because fermented food, granted... most people carry them in like a plastic or like a clay or like a glass vessel. Yeah. So you really got to, you got to determine.
I think you would have to make it and then put it into like a baggie.
Yeah, it would have to be a plastic sealed bag or something. Yeah. But then you better pray it doesn't fucking blow up because of the fermentation.
You got to double bag it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah, that was my hiking journey.
Damn.
I think that's all the interesting stuff that happened. We did like fires a couple of nights. The shelter we stayed at last was the prettiest. I ended up scouting out that to enter the shelter, it was like really precarious and like cliffy. But we found out that you can just take the road and walk the road down to it, and it's safer than doing that. So that was pretty funny.
How was the nature? Obviously, you're like in mountains and stuff, so you get to get all those like pretty views.
Yeah, very gorgeous. Honestly, here I can pull up some of the pictures. So that's me dead again. But like the shelter, let's see if I can get a good picture of the shelter. Here, obviously, like this is one of my favorite pictures I took of JJ. It's like him looking over the mountains and stuff. Yeah, very pretty, super high up. It's like different trails and things like that. Damn. Very gorgeous. We wanted to go, JJ wanted to go like a week later, but we got some of the fall change, just a tiny bit.
Well, it gets cold too.
Yeah, it gets colder, but it might have been more manageable, who knows. And then they got like random makeshift bridges along the way, which are just kind of stuff. I think I got a picture of the shelter somewhere. Yeah, this is what the shelters look like. It's like 3 walls and then like a chimney.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was pretty cool. They had some firewood, and then we just picked up dead wood for the rest of the stuff. And then every so often, there'd be the mile
70,
counter.
Yeah.
So that's the start. And then eventually...
What is that? Does he have a Frisbee on his backpack?
Yeah, he brought a Frisbee. We didn't end up playing it.
Yeah,
but he had it. I didn't have any strength to do anything like that.
He's like, hey, go long. And you're like...
Yeah, and then this is him after doing the 70 miles. Amazing.
Damn.
Yeah, like a fucking trooper, dude. This is Gabe dying, I think, day 2. And then this is like him just one frame later.
Wait, what mile was that?
I think that's 57.
And then what's the previous one?
These are the
same.
It's the same.
Yeah, okay. You just swap positions. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's like random stuff on the trail. There was like some seats and then like some random meditating gnomes and stuff like that. Here's a good picture of Gabe, like the rocks and stuff. And honestly, I love Pennsylvania mountains, like the
Smoky.
The roads. Smoky mountains, they're so good. It's super awesome.
I've only ever driven in them, but they're pretty cool.
Yeah, here's me after making food in one of the shelters, just chilling, ginger turmeric. Here's the bees tape that we saw.
Bees.
Yeah, it was just like this random stretch of tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, then there was like a thing. But this is the only one there was warning. There's just tissue papers for the rest of them. And then here's me, like, completely dead. You can see me kind of bow-legged.
Yeah, you were like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, completely suffering.
You were hurting.
My legs were fucking gone. I'm, like, leaning, like, on the side of my foot here. Oh, my God.
Feels better than the bottom because of the blister. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it was terrible. And then these are some of the timings of some of the miles. So, like, you can see they're doing, like, 20-minute miles almost.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that's adding time for one of these days because of the breaks. Here's, like, 3-minute breaks and stuff like that.
Damn.
Well, there's a 6-minute break or whatever the fuck we were doing. So.
Well, if you need another person next time, let me know.
Yeah, we do want to try it again.
I'll suffer.
We're gonna try it again. We're going to. Gabe said he wants to try to do Isle Royale, which is.
That's not that long though, is it?
It's an island in the Upper Peninsula with no people on it. It's just wolves and moose.
Yeah.
Moosin'.
So yeah, we just gotta survive.
Yeah, basically. So I'm curious. Yeah, I'll let you know. I think I have a group of guys, I think you included, that would actually do it. I think it would honestly take a lot from certain people to go through that.
I'd suffer. I enjoy suffering too.
It's important. Yeah. I wouldn't even let anyone try to do what we did unless they had a good backpack at minimum.
I would buy all the whatever gear.
Yeah. Like they went to REI, got their backpacks fitted and everything like that.
I would do that. Yeah.
I'm going to do that the next time.
Yeah, I'm going to get a sleeping bag, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
I already have the only thing I have is good hiking boots. I probably need the socks, but
overall, I think the most important things I learned from my trip is that Mother Nature may afford you quite a bit of grace in your failure, but you will pay a price for it. Another thing I learned is that I'm both weaker and stronger than I thought I was. And then the third most important thing I learned is to have like a lot of great gratitude for modern amenities.
Oh yeah,
in society.
Well,
they had toilets at the place. They were just pot toilets, so we didn't end up having to crap in the woods or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, just how convenient it is to turn on a faucet. I appreciate that a lot more after having to pump for several minutes
just
to
like
get water.
Summon water.
And then my final thing I'd probably take away from this trip is the most important step isn't the first or the last, it's the next step. That's a quote from my buddy Ryan. But one of the things that was motivating Gabe the entire time is he kept saying 1 more mile. 1 more mile.
Yeah, I do that to myself.
And I was like, you know what? Like that 1 more mile is awesome, but I need something much smaller. So 1 more step.
More step.
Because every step was like painful. Well, so it's like I cannot think about this in terms of miles. I will die.
It's like a frame thing, right? Because I do like whenever I'm working out, I'm like, no, come on, you can do like 2 more. And they're like, no, 2 more, not 2 more. You know, it's the same. Whatever you think you can do, you're like, no, we can do 1 more.
I'm like, it just had to be the micro scale of I can do 1 more step.
Yeah.
And that was what I tried to keep the frame with. Because, man, there's like a point where you're carrying all that weight and you have 8 more miles to go and you're like, fuck, dude, it's going to take me at least 30 minutes to do a mile.
Yeah.
So that means that we have like another like 3 to 4 hours we're going to be out here doing this, depending on how slow we go and how many breaks we take. And sundown is at like a specific time.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
God.
So it was intense. It was it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I have not done anything more difficult than that.
How many times have you walked through the woods in the dark?
I've done that quite a few times.
Like, okay, because like every time that I've ever done it, I'm always like, oh God, I hate this. Like it's like I know where I'm going. It's just unsettling, and I kind of feel I can find myself in the woods with the daytime, but as soon as night falls, I'm like, okay, I think I know where I'm at, and I keep doing that.
See, the difficulty is that you had to make sure you were on the trail still, and the markings in the trail were just random trees painted with yellow squares. So I had to keep very wary of that. And something actually our shuttle guy mentioned, who's like an avid hiker, he's done I think he did 700 miles of the Pacific Crest solo and just like other stuff like that. A crazy intense hiker. And he said that like when you're alone, all your senses are heightened.
Oh, yeah.
I experienced that the first day. Yeah. Like, and I like took out my hearing aids because I was like, if anything happens, I'm just giving up. It's fine. Like the bear can kill me. There's nothing I can do. Like I just have to accept death. But that was like bothering me. The hearing everything was really bothering. And then so I took those out. But the headlamp worked great. That honestly, best piece of gear I bought, if anything, was the Energizer headlamp.
The one that comes with the batteries.
Yeah, it came with the batteries. It worked fucking amazing. I had that was and the water purifier was good too. I had no problem with that. But if I had to pick the 3 categories of gear, it's just backpack, your feet, and then sleep gear. And the hammock was great because you can set it up anywhere, and it's less heavy than a tent, I think. I don't have a particularly ultralight one, and I had to set up a rain cover every day just in case to protect from like wind and stuff. And my sleeping bag was great too. I got the Kelty Mistral. It was a 20-degree rated bag that was warm. I'm glad I went with the 20 instead of the 40-degree rated because some of those nights were colder. And I'm glad I had the extra warmth. But yeah.
Damn.
That was suffering. I don't think I'm a hiker, frankly. I really don't.
No, you wouldn't want to do that all the time?
I would not want to do that all the time. It was fun for what it was, and I could see myself doing it intermittently, but to do that as like a hobby, fuck no, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not doing that.
You take like a month off, and you're like, well, we're going to go to the Rockies again. No.
Yeah, something I always wanted to do is the Pacific Crest Trail, and I'm reconsidering that. That I think it's like 1,100 or 1,200 miles, or maybe 2,000. I don't know how long it is. I honestly don't remember. But I've seen like random people that I wouldn't expect to do that trail do it. And they also have a lot of support on the trail, so you can get food while you're on it. It has like a big support system now.
Gotcha.
So I think that's much more manageable if you're,
If you're fine with just sleeping outside, it's just like you just go to pick up food, go do whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's less survival-y. It's more how much can you walk.
Yeah, it's more an endurance test. And that was something I recognized too, is that I'm not trained for endurance. I am more trained for like short burst of energy. And that's what I have been training with the calisthenics stuff. Yeah. So I'm going to swap a little bit more towards some endurance because, man, that was rough.
I wanted to start doing rucking just because it's really good cardio, but it would help if I were to ever be in a hike, I feel. So I don't know. But yeah, that takes effort to get the thing set up so that way you can go rucking to begin with. So, I got to get that part first.
Yeah, so that was something.
Yeah, it sounds like it, man.
That was a fucking trip, bro. Definitely the hardest thing I've ever done. I am thankful that we did it. I am glad I was able to fail gracefully as I could. And I seem to be healing up. My knees still hurt a little bit. My blisters are healing. I had to cut off the skin part of it. I did that yesterday.
Supposedly, if you never pop them, they heal better.
But the problem is that they pop just by virtue of carrying 50 pounds on my back.
Yeah, and
there was by the time I got to camp, my blisters were popped like 10 times over. Yeah. And that skin flap was always left. I left the skin flap on as like a natural Band-Aid, but something I'd never used before, which JJ brought, was moleskin, and I ended up using that. Super good.
Is that like the super glue stuff?
It's basically just like a big square Band-Aid that you cut, and it has the glue on one side.
Oh, okay.
And then you just plap it on as like a second layer of skin. Yeah. Worked fucking great. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna name my YouTube video, which will probably be out before I release this because I still have to edit one of our podcasts for this. But I'm gonna name it "How I Failed My Hiking Trip So You Don't Have to."
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Damn, dude. Well, you came back.
Yeah, survived. Yeah, do you have any questions about anything? I feel like I covered most of it.
Yeah, I think you covered it. No, dude, congrats. Yeah. You went out and did a thing.
Did 50% of a thing.
People don't do 1%.
Yeah.
As you said, whenever you started, people didn't even do half of it.
Yeah, most of the people that were trying to come on the trip didn't even start it. So even just taking the first step is still, important to me. But, goddamn, dude. That was fucking hard.
Yeah. Nice. I also had some intense pain.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
I tweaked my back to the point where I couldn't walk straight anymore, and we had to go to the ER. So I was walking like this, and like I couldn't straighten out my right or left leg all the way and like walk normal.
How did you end up doing that?
That's the funny thing. All I did, and I do this all the time, especially when I'm at work. I do like stretch both ways. I just did that while I was standing in my kitchen. And I like did this way, and then like something popped, and I was like, "Oh God!" And I couldn't move, and so like I laid on the floor for a while, and I'm like it happened on a Saturday, and so I was like, Rebecca, we'll see how I feel tomorrow, and then we'll figure out what's going on here. And I woke up the next day, I could barely walk, and so we went directly to the ER. The ER was fun. I've never been to an ER, so because I couldn't really walk that well. They wheeled me in a wheelchair. I've never had that. It was all these new experiences.
Yeah, being old and decrepit.
I know. I was like, man, this is how people feel, huh? So I get pushed in there. They check my blood. They do all, blood pressure, all that junk. My blood pressure was almost perfect. But whatever. They bring me back to this one area. A lady comes and like picks up my leg. She's like, okay, does it hurt here? Can you like control your bladder? I'm like, yeah, all that junk. She's like, well, I think it's just muscle pain, so we'll get you some muscle relaxers, ibuprofen, some random shot that started with an M. I can't remember the name of the thing, and then like some. It was called like literally like Narcos or something like that.
Man, they gave you everything, bro.
Yeah, and I told the lady like I don't want to take the Narcos because it's an opioid thing. My uncle had was divorced, and it had to do with that stuff. So I was like, you know what? I don't even want to mess with that. I don't even want to. I'm not in that much pain. I can still move. But they gave me that shot of whatever, and my wife recognized it. She was like, oh, that's like advanced Advil. I'm like, hopefully it helped. Oh, it helped. But it wasn't like I was like loopy or anything. It just was like, oh, the pain is very dulled. So I got like x-rays, I got like all this stuff. The muscle relaxers I don't think helped at all. I didn't even feel like lucid or tired.
What ended up helping? Just resting for a few days or something, or what?
I laid on my back for 3 days pretty much straight and only got up every so often. I went to the chiropractor 2 days after the ER, and that helped a lot. Whether it was because like my wife had she herniated a disc before, and she also dislocated, God, I can't remember the name of the hip bone, but there's those like the muscle that's attached to is the hip flexor, and it's it's like one side of your hip. Essentially that can kind of dislocate a little bit, and it's really painful. And so she's had it where that happened. Chiropractor pushed it back in to where it went back into place, and she was back to okay. So he thought maybe it was that. It wasn't. It was mostly muscle, but because he just like worked my hips so much, I think it just loosened whatever muscle wasn't loosening. And so I was able to like walk the day after pretty good. So that was good. The chiropractor, I think, if I would have just done only that, I think I might have been okay, because I don't think the ER really helped. They just gave you pills.
They gave you pills to numb the pain.
Get out of here.
Out. Yeah.
Get out of here.
You're clearly in here for pain. Well, we have an answer.
Yeah. It's like, I was expecting like somebody to come by and be like, okay, we think that your hip flexors are tight. Here's how you can stretch them at home.
No.
Do this every few minutes. No, it's like,
do you want opioids?
Drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Super Advil now.
Yeah.
The 600 milligram per pill, which normally it's 200.
You know, actually, I had I had kind of an argument with my girlfriend about this, because when I had gotten back, I'd gotten that fever, and she was trying to give me Tylenol, which I did end up taking because I had like a fever like 103.
Oh yeah, you need
or something like that
to get that high.
But like, when I was thinking, here's my logic, so hear me out, right?
Yeah, and I think I have the same logic. We go for it.
Yeah, my logic is like, okay, your body is heating up to deal with an infection, and it heats up so it can kill the infection. So why am I going to take something that's a fever reducer that's just going to give me short-term gain of reducing my fever, but it's going to prolong the amount of time the infection's in my body? It doesn't seem like that's a logical
Did we talk about this before?
No, I don't think so.
Because I've said, like, I kind of have the same exact thing where, like, yeah, you need to do that. But I think at a certain point, like, once you get up to, like, 104, your body's going to start hurting itself. That's when you take the fever reducer.
See, my thought is that I could understand a case scenario where you take the Tylenol if it's interrupting your, like, sleep and relaxation process of, like, healing through rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. But if you're, like, I didn't particularly feel dead. I just felt like I had a headache. And you know what ended up feeling best to take, surprisingly, out of everything? So Tylenol reduces glutathione or whatever in your liver. That's what it like depletes things from your liver. You know what fucking replenishes that in your liver? Obviously eating certain foods, but fucking knack. So I ended up, the first time I got back and I took the knack, I felt amazing. I was like, dude, the knack feels like that's what I should have took from the start was the fucking knack, bro. I think I don't even know if it was like because I skipped taking knack for like a couple days because I tried to take it every other day.
Mm-hmm.
But like as soon as I took the knack, like my headache felt like mostly gone. Like I had some kind of vertigo thing. I'm on knack.
Yeah, you're knacked up.
I'm fucking knacked up. So yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, the knack felt amazing, and my girlfriend had like this sickness that lasted like a week, and then she took care of me during her sickness as well, which was impressive. But mine only lasted like 3 to 4 days, and I was done basically. Mm-hmm. And I had one day of like where I didn't take the Tylenol, I just full suffered it out, sweated out, and then after that point, I was like, oh, I feel fine. Like I feel better. I feel like I can do stuff. So
I think that's always true, right? Because like Rebecca has the same thing where like she'll get sick. She'll get me sick, and then I'll have the same sickness that she has, but I'll have it for shorter.
Yeah.
She'll like feel better enough to where she's still like coughing or whatever, but won't be as bad. And I'll like get really bad and have like one day where I'll be like, ugh, and then after that I'll be like, oh, I'm fine now.
Yeah.
Back to normal.
I hate to be so pharmaceutically against, but I feel most of the time that it's just things that temporarily short-term relieve like discomfort and don't actually help you.
My mom says it best, like any kind of pill that you take is just going to be a Band-Aid for whatever problem you're having.
Yeah, that's probably the best. All it is just targeting symptoms and not causes, because medicine is like prophylactic. So that's the whole thing, is that they issue medicine that has the opposite effect to the thing that they're trying to deal with in you.
Yeah, it's like you have a headache, you take an Advil. You didn't really you didn't fix it. You're going to alleviate the symptoms of the headache so that way you can go do things.
Yeah, like we went to afterwards. I had the camping thing at Guys Weekend or whatever, and we're up there, and one of the guys shows up and he's like, "Man, I got like a terrible migraine." But he'd just been driving for 3 hours. Dude pulls out a fucking Nas and starts drinking it that he had like in the car, and then starts eating Takis. I'm like, yeah, no wonder you have a fucking migraine, you idiot. What are you talking about? I mean, we were ragging on him for it. Like, why don't you drink some water, bro? Like, it's like, oh no, I just need more of this Nas, dude. Like,
this has water in it.
Yeah, fucking dumb.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, oh, I have the worst migraine. Like, I appreciate you can tell us you have a migraine, but I have a suspecting feeling that the migraine is due to these factors here that you're presenting us around the campfire.
Damn.
So, anyways.
But yeah, no. So, I did some suffering as well.
Yeah, you did some suffering. Yeah, did you want to mention the fact that your whole year has been thrown in the dumpster by bureaucracy?
Oh, yeah. So basically, the project I was working on for like an entire year, it was a dumpster because they're not going to make the car that we were building. So, you know, this is all public news.
So you have 150 parts that you're creating the machine programming to be able to handle, right?
Well, we were just those were our test parts to get everything up and running.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to run through all these.
Yeah.
And we ended up not doing it because they didn't install one of the final machines that needed to be installed. So basically, imagine there was 11 machines, and we have 10 of them. All right, and we've built parts all the way up to, like, machines are working up to about halfway, which is where the machine that we haven't installed yet is going to be installed. And instead of installing that final machine, they have everything shipped to the building like as if they're about to start setting it up and setting up that machine. They just go like, no.
Yeah, axe it.
Get out of here.
So now Sam's got to become a fucking insurance broker.
If you need insurance.
Because he lost his job because they canceled the electric car. They just axed it, the whole project.
You know what's funny? And like, this is such a dumb... I feel so dumb and stupid for talking like this. But if you go back in time to like 2008 when Obama was in office, he was the one that basically set up at the beginning and was like, hey guys, by X year, I forget what year, we need to have this many electric cars to reduce our...
carbon emissions.
Yeah, on the world. Right? And like back then it was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, now nobody's buying the electric cars. They're becoming more of a waste. They're not efficient. They're taking more resources out of the earth. So they're not really worth it. And so this wasn't really the way. Mm-hmm. And so in a way, because of that, back in 2008, I'm feeling the effects of it. Yeah. Almost 10 years later.
So thanks Obama is what.
Thanks Obama.
Thanks Obama.
Harambe would still be alive without you.
Yeah. No. Thanks Obama.
So yeah, I talking to a guy at the plant. He was like, you know, this started back then. I'm like, damn, wow.
You're like, oh my God.
That's where all the funding for this came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of, you know, it's an interesting little
there's a little tidbit. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I lost my job. The contract. I was expecting it to at least go through the rest of like this month, like September, October, and then be done. But it ended up ending sooner than that.
Yeah, so I'm frolicking in the woods like a little fairy, and Sam's over here suffering.
I get to be depressed instead.
It's fun. Bureaucracy.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool.
But do you have some podcast topics that you wanted to talk about?
I had a few, yeah.
Let's talk about them, because I spent the whole time telling you about the narrative.
I'm going to rapid fire here. I got a new car. You saw it. Where you came to pick up the jacket.
Yeah.
I sold the Bronco. Bronco's gone. Bronco, not for sale. Can you go back and edit all the videos and just censor out Bronco?
Yeah, we're going to censor it. I'll use AI to filter through it.
Perfect.
Maybe I'll just put all our episodes on YouTube Kids. It's not like...
Yeah.
Get some more clicks.
The kids learn about the doormat. And, they'll
the
love
doormat strategy.
Yeah.
And then like the tonguing jar of sand to increase. Yeah. The stimulation.
All that stuff. Yeah.
Those are the things kids need to learn.
They need to. Well, that's why you post on YouTube Kids. Because
and then you got that Disney trip bit with the almonds. Remember that? That was really useful. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically.
Yeah, so
we got to teach the youth.
Yeah. That's honestly, our next podcast episode is going to be a fucking school lesson episode.
Yeah.
It'll be an unschooling lesson.
Unschooling,
for all the children that aren't learning anything, we're going to teach them something useful.
We build here's what you do. You build a bridge out of popsicle sticks and show how suspension bridges can hold up more weight, and then crush it and go like, don't do any of this.
Yeah.
That's unschooling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Unschooling lesson, next episode.
So, did that. That was the first thing on the list. The second thing was on the list was bad back getting drugged.
Okay.
The third one is cabin. Went up to my cabin.
Okay.
Did some grouse hunting.
Yeah. Did you succeed?
Yes, I got one grouse.
Wow.
One little grousey guy.
Amazing.
It's actually kind of nice because for the last few years, there's been way too many hunters in the area that we hunt in. And so there hasn't been that many grouse. And we've been kind of just not, like last year, I think I saw like 2. But this year we saw like 17. We only got 1, but still seeing birds is like pretty good.
Better than nothing, yeah.
Yeah, and so it was like, you know, as I'm walking through the woods, it's not the same as hiking because it's all through like thick garbage woods, no trails. And so you have to like constantly climb over branches and do all this other junk. I was like, what always ends up happening is like as I'm walking through the woods, I'll be like focused for a second. I'll be like, oh, any second now there will be a bird. And then you'll walk for like another 10 minutes and you're like, oh, there's no birds. And your mind naturally starts wandering onto things. And so I was like, man, what could I do? Like, what would a video game that would be fun to do with like bird hunting? And so I was thinking of like maybe an XCOM style game where like you have like your units and you have like a dog and you got to pick the units and the dog and like you're walking through the woods. And if like, you know, one of your units has like a bad leg or whatever, they kind of just trip all the time. And like, you know, you have depending on your dog, like my dad's dog right now, the dog that we hunt with, she's not very good at bird hunting. She's really good at retrieving. So once you shoot the bird, perfect. She does a really good job. But trying to find the birds before, which is half of the job, not very good at. But if you're looking for water, the dog will find water. So she has the puddle hunting perk. Yeah. So she'll find any source of water.
Yeah, it's a secret skill tree that some dogs have. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's like, I'm like, Dad, look, she's looking at the ground right here. There's an aquifer. She can hear the water. Yeah. And so like, but I was thinking about like a video game based around that and whatever. Just
honestly, dude, with all the weird video game ideas you've given me over the years, I feel like your brain is tailored to game design or some kind of game making.
I think just idea making. But,
because you've played so many games, I think that naturally your brain just thinks in terms of like. And you're telling me you're just randomly hunting and you're thinking of game ideas? Like, you just need to become a game programmer,
that's what happens. No, I know. I agree. It's at the same time, the thing that motivates me to do things is like, I don't know. I don't do things for myself that much.
You have talked about this before. Support main Sam Dog.
And so I'll think of all these things, but like, and I'll get like really motivated to start doing it. And then once I start getting into something, once I kind of get to a certain point, I'm like, I'm not really, like, I don't really care that much.
You got to think about it in terms of you're helping people by bringing these ideas out into tangible reality. But you just have to reframe it.
I know, but it doesn't work that way. I don't know. But yeah, no, I had my video game.
Yeah, and you had your grouse.
Yep, I got my one grouse hanging
awesome.
Out. It was just like me and my dad and my grandpa, and like I stayed in the cabin. My dad stayed in the pole barn. My grandpa stayed in the pole barn, and my grandpa went to bed at like 8:30, and like me and my dad were up talking, drinking till like 11:30. And so I went to bed at midnight, and my grandpa at like 4:15 in the morning, like immediately, like I hear him open the door. I'm like, oh no, and I'm barely conscious, and I hear him like immediately walk up to the pump and just start like just pumping water. And then he started the stove. He started making coffee, and it's like 4:15. Like, no, please. And then I managed to go back to sleep. I wake back up to a smell, and there's a smell of like cleaning. Like he like took out some Simple Green or some whatever cleaner and just was like cleaning stuff.
Oh my God.
And I guess he like mopped the floor.
You're like, Grandpa, no, stop.
4:45 in the morning.
Yeah, I hate it. That's the problem with like those guys that get up too early.
Well, he's old. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's just like, come on. My dad, because my grandpa was like waiting for someone to get up so that we could like talk to him and do whatever. And so like my dad like went outside to pee or whatever. My grandpa's like, oh, you're up. My dad's like, I heard this outside. My dad's like, no, I was gonna go lay down for a little bit longer. But yeah, no. So it was cool. I never really got to talk to just my dad for a while, and so that was good. He always, he was telling me all the stories that happened at the cabin when he was a kid, and it's cool.
That's awesome, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, the cabin was fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
We gotta plan our next cabin trip.
I know.
For February.
Yes. Yeah, we just show up. We just pick a weekend, show up.
And then your grandpa's gotta have liver and onions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have really spicy peppers, and I have a molcajete, which is that Mexican.
Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah, with the mortar. It's basically a mortar and pestle, but the bowl has holes in it. And so I used my molcajete, and I fire roasted a bunch of peppers that my dad gave me, and I just was like, whatever I got, I just took out the seeds, threw them in the molcajete, and just like ground them up. So I made this, it was really good. Like the initial flavor of it was like delicious peppers and tomatoes and junk. And then after that, it was just like insane death spice. So me and my grandpa, like, because if you keep eating it, you get a combo where you continue the sweet flavor, but then you have to get all the burn afterwards.
It's like a slight prolonged like flavor before you pay for the cost of eating it.
Yeah, so like me and my grandpa both had like a 40 combo going
Yeah,
on the salsa.
You accrued a bunch of spice debt.
We finished off like the bowl. My dad like had one chip. He's like, "Oh, that's way too hot." But me and my grandpa are like, like slurping it down, and then like afterwards, like, "Oh God."
My ass is gonna hate me tomorrow.
My grandpa, I think he literally said like, "Oh, I'm gonna pay for this one." Like,
yeah, that's why he woke up at 4 in the morning. Is because he had fire coming out of his ass.
Yeah, no, it was nice. But yeah, so did that. Whenever I got back, me and the wife, this was before we went to the cabin, we went to a wedding. Mm-hmm. And at the wedding, it was a nice wedding. It was a good wedding. It was one of my wife's brother's friends that we're also friends with, whatever. But they had like a cigar bar. And I've never had a cigar. Mm. And so they had like a whiskey tasting a cigar bar. I'm like, oh, fancy. And so like towards the end of the night, I was like drinking and stuff. I was like, you know what? I'm going to grab one of the cigars. And I like grabbed a cigar and just like slid it into my suit pocket. And so we went home and I was like, you know what? I really want to know what is the appeal of the cigar and like the whiskey? Like what is it? So I did exactly that. I looked up a guide on how to light the cigar and stuff. The guide is literally like, okay, first thing, you need to look at the cigar and you need to appreciate it. And so I was like, yeah, this is nice. Yeah. Like all cigars are well, they smell delicious actually. With it, so like, you know,
do I eat it?
You gotta like cut off the end.
Yeah.
I only had like garden shears, so like I did a really sloppy whatever.
I have like a bajillion of those cigar cutters from the golf course. Yeah, so I have a whole collection of them.
Yeah, I should have had one of those because it wasn't nice. But so I'm sitting outside with my whiskey and my cigar. I'm like, oh, I get this. And so like the cigar, obviously you get the nicotine, all that, and like the nice smell of it, and like while it's like lit and whatever around you, you're like, oh, there's something pleasant. There's something weirdly pleasant about the combination that I'm like, I understand why people do this. And so afterwards, I'm done. I didn't smoke the whole cigar. I smoked like half a cigar. Let it burn out or whatever. I go inside and I'm playing Guilty Gear fighting game, and I'm like doing really, really well. And I'm like, oh God, I'm like really good at this. And while I'm sitting there, I had like this fleeting thought of like, this is the nicotine, Sam. Sam, this is the nicotine. That's what's doing this. And so the next day, I'm like, well, I gotta see. And like I go in and I suck ass. I'm like, oh no, I'm actually bad at the game. But because I had the nicotine, it boosted my neural transmitters.
Yeah, temporarily.
Yeah. And I was like, I understand cigarette addiction. Yeah. Like
you're like, I'm actually a better gamer when I'm on nicotine.
I gotta get the Zins.
Yeah. Whenever I have a competition coming up, I need to just take a trip to Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
A little zinny for the road.
A Zinachino, as the kids are calling them.
The upper decker.
Yeah, the upper decky. That's But so like, yeah, now I get nicotine addiction.
That's great.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so now you have a pack of cigars for when you need to beat somebody's ass in Guilty Gear.
Like, give me a
like,
sec.
Oh, you want to see? Opens fucking case.
I like, and
I'll
I still,
show you.
I go through all the steps still, and I'm like sitting there staring at it for 5 minutes. Like,
the
wow.
person's like, dude, what are you doing? Preparing for the game.
Like,
you're like, I can only do this just once.
I'm like opening up my gates.
Yeah.
And
your eyes just like widen.
I'm ready.
Yeah, you're like frame counting. It's like
the FPS counter's too slow for me.
Yeah. It can't keep up. You have like one eye on the FPS counter, the other eye like it's completely split.
No, I play only off of sound and staring at the health bars. I'm like,
yeah. Every one of your senses is like dialed in. And then like as you start to feel it fade, you like take another hit of the cigar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your buddy's like, yo, can we make this like best 7 out of 10? And you like look at him, light another cigar.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
holy shit,
what's happening to me?
But yeah, so basically the other day I was sucking and I was like, man, I could go for a cigar. I'm like, no, wait. No, my brain's already bridging the gap of I need nicotine. But I get it.
Yeah, you go to the store, you like go to get gas, and you just find like you have a bag of like Zins. Where did I fucking get this?
I go to pay for the gas, and I'm like, yeah, and a pack of American
Spirit.
Yeah. Give me some of those. But yeah, no, it was actually, I get it now.
Yeah.
And so now whenever I'm socially sitting around, I get the hanging out with a glass of whiskey.
Yeah, did
and
the
your
whiskey
cigar.
flavor add to it?
It tastes better if you puff the cigar and you're just holding the glass of whiskey and then you're like, ah, yes. I don't know what it is about it. It's hard to describe, but it fires the correct brain waves. And I think too, it's very social. Like me and Rebecca were sitting outside, like, you know, randomly hitting the cigar, and then like you just have like your whiskey. You're not, whenever you smoke the cigar, you don't inhale it because you'll kill yourself. You'll just blow up your lungs. So you just keep the smoke in your mouth. And so it's like a very light, like, you're just having the taste of the nicotine, which doesn't sound pleasant, but it somehow is. And so like, it makes you more social because you're both drinking and you're having a stimulant. And so like you want to like talk about things, even though like whatever, I don't know, like we were just hanging out outside for like an hour just talking. After, you know, so I don't know, it's pleasant.
Yeah, it's like social.
I could see it. Yeah.
You know, you might find funny, one of my family members has this thing they call the infinity flask, and it's whenever like alcohol in their house gets low, but there's like not enough for a cup, they just pour it in the infinity flask. So it's like this flask is huge. It's like this fucking big of just random alcohol like tossed in, and they bring it up every camp session full.
Like, you want to try it?
Yeah, just like, hey, this is like 60 different things from wine to whiskey,
Jesus.
like in here. Just, yeah. You want to get drunk, this is exactly
Here
what's
you
going
go.
to happen. Yeah.
You're going to have a bad time tomorrow, but today it might be fun. I guess beyond that, I have you ever had where you're like...
No, Sam, tell me.
Where you had like... You've had like your reflexes. So like, okay, I get these times where I'm really good at like hand-eye coordination and like doing certain things. It could be video games. It could just be like working on like physical things, like soldering or whatever, where I'm like, oh man, I'm like acing this, whatever I'm doing. And it always has to do with like brain to hand coordination, okay? And then there will be times where I'm just god awful. Like I'll try to like hit a nail or something with a hammer and just suck at it. But like days prior, I was like perfect. I don't know what this is, but I don't know if you ever experienced anything where you're just like, it's like every day I roll the dice on how good my hands are going to work.
I don't think I've ever had that before. I don't think I've ever been conscious enough of how well my hands seem to be working at any particular time.
Yeah, I think I'm just too conscious.
Because like sometimes, the only time I would ever notice that is like the temperature of like my office and how cold it feels to like type keyboard wise. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, it's too cold temperature wise, and so I'm kind of stuttering a bit when I'm typing stuff.
Okay.
And so that's when I'm like, okay, I need to like turn up the heat, or I need to do something with my hands, and then I can go back to it and it'll be different. But it's never been like my hands are
not doing
skill level 0 today.
Yeah.
It's more like, oh, I need to warm them up or stretch them or change the temperature in the room.
I gotcha. I like recently, so like about 4 or 5 days ago, I was like working on my car, and like, I know this is like such a minor, like dumb thing, but like whenever I went to go like take the lug nuts off, I had to go take off the tire on my new car because I was replacing, there's like a plastic piece that needs to be replaced. So I was taking off the tire, and like I did it perfectly. Like I got the thing on the lug nut first try, spun it, did everything, right? And I was able to do that in all of them, put the stuff back on. I was able to like undo all the bolts. There are days where days after that, if I were to try and do the same exact thing, like I would like weirdly struggle to get the like wrench on the lug nut. Like weird junk like that happens to me, and I'm not sure why. It's really noticeable with like video game stuff, and I know this just sounds like retarded, but it affects other things is what I'm trying to like explain, because with video games it's like, oh, you just had a bad day or whatever. But for example, I've been playing Guilty Gear. Okay, so it's a fighting game, and it's like you have to kind of do inputs pretty fast. There will be some days where I'm just like acing junk, just like I was saying whenever I had like the cigarette or the cigar. So like with the cigar, I was like doing really well, but that might have just been that a day that like my hands were responding well. Whenever I was playing like yesterday, I sucked ass. I just couldn't do things. I'm like, no, hands, just do the. We've done it. We've done these inputs hundreds of thousands of times. Let's just do the inputs, and I can't. There's just something where it's just like, no, not today. I'm just gonna have like lag and no coordination or something, and I don't know if it has to do with like, because I have like dysgraphia, and that's all hand-eye coordination. That's like my handwriting and all that junk. I'm curious if like I've always thought that it affected more than just my handwriting, but I wouldn't think that it would be like a brain lag thing where like my fingers are just slow, or like they're just not doing the exact things that I need them to do whenever I'm focused on something. I don't know.
That's interesting to think about. I guess like if we humor this idea that your dysgraphia in some way affects other parts of your life, that wouldn't surprise me.
No.
Because it's like you said, it's like some kind of brain neurological thing. And I could definitely understand you taking a stimulant and then you being better at doing something. And I can also see the day after taking a stimulant when you're like reeling from the withdrawal of it that you would do bad generally. Like that doesn't surprise me either.
But I mean, like I'm talking like, so I smoked a cigar like 3 weeks ago, and then like
you're talking about in general, you have days that are really good and days that are bad.
Yeah.
I think it's natural to have that sort of balance of some days are going to be good, some days are going to be bad. I don't know if there's any way to like physically measure like electromagnetically how your hand muscles are handling.
You'd have to like have something on your brain and then like hit buttons, and so like every day you hit the same combination of buttons, and like you get a general gist of like your reaction time and accuracy.
Like what I would do if you wanted to try to like pinpoint like maybe perhaps where things are happening, I would try to keep track of the important things, like when you're eating, what you're eating, the caffeine intake, and then your blood pressure, and then when's the last time you exercised, and then measure that. Like if you could keep track of those 5 things and then rate your hand-eye coordination each day at the end of every day, or like during a task or whatever, and see how that affects it. That would be the thing I would consider.
I would have to like play Guilty Gear and then see what like level I end up at.
Yeah. Well,
something.
What I would say is, you would. The best thing to do would be to try to get some data points to pull from, and then measure after you play Guilty Gear how well you thought you did that particular day.
Yeah.
And then it might even be worth considering like what's on your head for that particular day as well.
I think that might have, like, I always thought whenever this would happen in the past, because it's happened my whole life, I always kind of assumed it was mental stack, right? So it's like if I had a lot of stuff going on, I would usually do worse. Like if I was thinking about other things other than what I'm focused on, obviously I'm not going to do as well.
You're not engaged as well, yeah.
But I felt like I was engaging and trying to like do something, and I would just get frustrated because it would be like days prior I was just as engaged feeling. I was like focused. I just want to like do this one thing and get better at it or whatever, and it would just be like this failure after failure, and it's like, why do I feel like I'm doing the things I've done in the past, but they're just not working the same way that they did, you know? But yeah, no, I think if I did map everything out like that, where I would, keep track of all those things, there's probably something obvious where it's like, oh, because your blood pressure was this, and like the day before you did this.
Yeah, I would even the basic thing of like how much sleep did you get the day before, and like have you warmed up your muscles to start before you've done any like because obviously you're still using your finger muscles tactilely, like but if you got poor sleep and then I don't know, those would be the things I would data check.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, like, I've been doing, like, the yoga and stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, you mentioned the back thing, but I was like, you've been doing yoga recently. Why the fuck do you have this back problem, bro?
So upset with it.
Yeah.
With this. Because I was like, and you know what sucked is, like, I was like, oh, I'm going to make dinner and then I'm going to do yoga. Like, that day. And, like, as I'm making dinner, I freaking explode my spine. It's like, why?
You're like hyperextended or something.
But the thing is I didn't even do. The only thing I could think of is that earlier in the day I took off my tire, and so like I was sitting on the thing and I pulled back. That is the only like weird lower back thing that I did.
And I'm assuming you didn't stretch or anything before you did that.
No, and I didn't stretch afterwards, but I was going to do yoga afterwards, which would have stretched it. So it was like, okay, maybe if I would have done yoga, it's either.
Before,
Yeah, it's either if I did yoga before or if I did yoga right after. But if I did yoga afterwards, maybe it would have just happened anyways. Who knows?
Yeah, that's really funny because I was thinking about that when you were telling that story. I'm like, this guy has been doing more and more yoga, and he fucking goes to the ER on his back. Like, what the fuck happened?
And it's like everybody's like, no, you got a week back. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I feel like I've been doing like Roman crunches, which is the like your waist is like locked in, you go down back up, which is all lower back, and I've been doing a lot of rowing, which is upper back. It's like, I don't know, I don't feel like my back's weak.
Time to add bridges to the label.
Bridge, like the backwards one. Yeah, I do that in yoga sometimes, but I don't know. All right, yeah. So that does that subject. We did that one.
Yeah,
excellent. Just like a checklist for me. Yeah.
You're really work oriented.
You know what? I think I've been trying to think more about like what would make the podcast better. I think me talking on a list, but I need the next step is have a list, but then actually be able to like fluidly move to the next one, rather than be like, yep, we're done with that one. Okay, so the next subject.
The next subject. So lately I've been having these weird dreams with all these balloons in them.
I had a weird one with there was look up the Pokemon Cramorant.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Do you know what it is? Yeah. Okay, so I had a dream where a realistic, like, a crane mixed with, like, a Cramorant from Pokemon was on my bed. And it happened, like, twice in a row. So I, like, was asleep, and I, like, in my dream or in my sleepwalking or whatever, I was like, oh, damn it, there's a Cramorant. And I swung at it. And then, like, I, like, sat up in bed, and I'm like, Rebecca, I have to check if this bird thing is here. And she's like, what? I'm like, I'm gonna turn on my light. And like I can like turn on the light and like looked around the room, like I knew I was sleepwalking. I go back to sleep and it's there again. I'm like, why? The second time I'm like, I know it's not real. I know it's not. And then I like kind of moved my hand towards it and it went away. But it was the weirdest, like I'm just hallucinating, I guess.
Yeah, damn, dude. And your wife's sleep suffers as well.
Oh yeah,
because of your
I feel
sleep.
bad.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah,
man.
There's nothing I can do, and I'm like, I can't sit here and feel bad about it. Like I feel bad about it, but it's like I'm just asleep. I try to control it by not eating sugar, but that doesn't work sometimes. It's just like how active my brain is that day. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, speaking of not sleeping and having fun, red blue decks in Magic. What are your thoughts?
Red blue decks. Yeah, I mean those are kind of like usually combo burn decks. That protect burn with the blue.
So,
or sometimes they're storm decks.
Yeah, you can do storm, but me and a friend have been playing Commander.
Okay.
And so we kind of had like just like some basic ones, some like whatever ones, and then like I was like, oh, you know what? Like, I kind of like blue red as the two colors I like.
Identity, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm like, oh, I'll get a Commander deck that's blue red. It is AIDS to play against because it has like it's just, all it is like, it kind of sucks the fun away from other people's stuff. Because, like, the other color identities are very, like, I do this thing, and then this gets this thing, haha. But blue is like, you do that thing, and I stop you. And then you put down that creature, I stop you. It's like you're just being a dick, is the whole thing. And so, like we were playing, and he's like, I watch him tap all his mana. I'm like, oh, here we go. I have a counter spell. And then he goes like, I'm gonna summon, and I'm like, no. And it's like,
now for the record, for posterity's sake, I was primarily a blue player in Magic.
Yeah.
And I was also primarily like the solitaire, either control of somebody else. Kind of deck, or I would just play solitaire with myself until I won. Those are my deck archetypes. So I completely understand what you say when you say it sucks to fun. Like, I had decks that were just suck fun decks.
Yeah.
That's all they were.
Yeah.
Like, one of my favorite decks I played was the Lantern Top Control, and it was basically a deck where I could control the top card of everyone else's deck, which is essentially like, I am the great filter for what determines what goes in your hand or not, essentially.
So basically you're getting land for 7 turns.
Yeah, and then it was even worse because I had cards like Surgical Extraction, which is 1 black mana or 2 life. And so, like, if somebody's playing a consistent deck, this doesn't work much in Commander, but if they're playing a consistent deck where they have multiple copies of something, a playset, Surgical Extraction targets a specific card in the graveyard,
and just
searches everywhere for it, and exiles it.
Yeah.
So if they have a deck that is balanced on one particular thing and having 4 cards, gone. Completely gone.
Yeah.
Like, I was that guy. And you can run that in any fucking deck.
Yeah.
Because you just pay 2 life.
Yeah.
So.
No, so I was just thinking about, like, we had fun whenever, like, I didn't have a blue-red deck. You know, there was, like, I had a red-black deck that was, like, you know, fun-ish. It was okay for me to play, but it's not, like, the kind of cards that I like to play that much. And then, you know, a guy I'm playing with, like, he was having fun because he was able to, like, get his stuff down. I didn't have a lot of, like, things to do against it. But, like, once you add, like, the blue in there and the red, and it's, like, all, like, 6 damage to that, 4 damage to that, you're not putting that card out, actually wipe everything, it all goes back to your hand. Yeah. It's, like, all this trash, and then, like, in this one, it has a card where it's, like, you can pay up to 10 mana, plus 1 red, and then if you go up to 10 mana, you can pick 2 cards inside of your graveyard, put them into an exiled state where you can play them at any point. Whenever you play them, they get played twice. And so, like, I already had, like, Counterspell in there. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just pick Counterspell, and then I had one that was, like, turn all your enemies into 2/2 tokens. And so it's like, okay, so I'm just going to keep these hostage. So whenever I feel threatened, I have these I can play for free at any point. And so it's like, okay, your turn. What are you going to, what fun are we going to have?
Are you going to bait this out? Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to put, like, weak garbage out? And I go, like, yeah, that can go.
I think it's part of the fun for a control player, but obviously if you're not a control player, or you...
I was like having a decent time, but seeing the expression on the other person's face was like, they're like, I can't even play the game. Like, yeah, you can. That's true.
That's really interesting. That's kind of funny. And it's also funny with the ideology that you're like a support guy generally. So you're like being unsupportively destroying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the abilities of the cards I have. I just think that it's mean and aids to play against.
Magic has been moving towards removing a lot of the things that are unfun for people.
Yeah.
But obviously part of Blue's identity is countering things. So that's something like something I really like, which is so unfun as a mechanic, is land destruction.
Yeah.
And I never got to the point of making a land destruction deck, but boy did I contemplate it every fucking time. I was like, I want to just make sure no one can even play their deck. That is the worst deck, because already you have people that get mana screwed and can't play anything, but then to actively be versing a player that just destroys land.
No.
Like, that's just such a troll. Oh my god.
I mean, even just destroying one land is such a devastating. Like, if somebody only has like 3 land, you destroy one, it's like, oh, that I can't even play the game.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing too, I was actually at Guys Weekend, and we were talking about Magic because they play a lot of Commander, and they played it a bunch up there. And I don't have a Commander deck, but I made a joke about like some side thing, and there's actually like it's not legal, but it's a couple of cards that they made for like a child's charity thing for My Little Pony, and I was reading the cards, okay, and I could see myself making a commander deck with them because they're hilarious, but I don't like how they're designed. So one of them, the main one that I think most people would run is Twilight Sparkle, and her ability is that like if you pay 1 of each color mana and you have like all of the ponies out, the named ponies like Rarity, Fluttershy, Applejack, whatever. I know them all. Confirmed brony. It's out.
As long as you got them all.
Yeah, as long as you got, except for they don't care about Princess Luna for some reason, even though that's one of the I don't know. Whatever. Or select.
They only want the good ones.
Yeah, only the ones that Pinkie Pie, the ones that are a part of the main crew. Not Trixie though, just the
Trixie. Yeah, you don't want
fuck
that one.
Trixie.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if you have like I think those 5 ponies and you pay 1 of each color mana, then you win the game. Or every pony wins the game is what the thing. Everyone wins. It's like an ultra tie.
Oh, okay. So I can already see.
And that's a fun deck idea, but the problem is that so Twilight Sparkle, she's legendary, but she's only 2 colors, and all the other ponies are different colors. And so you can't, according to the commander rules, you can't run those colors in your deck because they don't match. So you'd have to illegally breach the...
What do you mean?
Because you can only run colors that are your commander's color identity when you make a commander deck. If you have a white commander, you can't play red cards. You have to be in the color identity of the commander.
I thought well, so if you run artifacts, what do you do?
Those are colorless. It doesn't matter.
So then you could do everything. Have an artifact commander.
Well, the problem is, though, is in order to activate Twilight Sparkle's ability, you have to have all the other ponies in play. And all the other ponies are different colors. So you can't run them in your deck.
So, but I'm saying if you ran an artifact commander, then you could run whatever color you want.
I get that, but then, that makes sense. Well, actually, if you run an artifact commander, I don't think you can play colored cards. You have to play a commander that's all 5 colors. That's the only way to make the deck work, but like then you wouldn't be able to have Twilight Sparkle as your commander, which would make it easier to win con. You'd have to tutor all of the ponies, which would be even more annoying. You see?
I didn't know that was a rule for commander.
Yeah, you have to be. That's why you have the colored deck. You can't run like a green card and a red and blue commander deck.
Well, it's just not efficient as well.
But you could splash all of the colors to be able to do it, but you can't according to the commander rules. So, and that's already besides the point because they're silver bordered cards. They're not legal anyways. And so I was thinking, it'd be even funnier. Okay, I was trying to look it up because it has to be part of the commander identity. So part of Twilight Sparkle's thing is blue, and blue obviously has access to so many things. One of those things is a card that you can pull cards from outside the game into the game, and that's legal. So my thought was, well, maybe you could like keep all of them in your sideboard, and then you could duplicate this spell multiple times and pull them in. But no, because the cards in your sideboard have to be the commander color identity as well, which is kind of annoying. Granted, some of the ponies' abilities are kind of silly. Like one of them is like you place a toy on the field, and for every color the toy has, it gains these abilities based on the colors. So it's just like silly stuff. Like it was just meant to be like a children's foundation. But I was like, if I make a commander deck, it's gonna be a Twilight Sparkle commander. I was like, I'm gonna force win. Everybody's gonna fucking play this
Everyone's
game.
winning.
Every pony wins.
Everybody's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
I don't want to win.
So I was gonna see if I can make that, but there's no way I'm buying the cards because they're like $100.
Oh yeah.
For the fucking that's too. I'd probably get like a Chinese proxy of it or something.
No,
but
I mean,
yeah.
There is one that's like one of the ones I have was it's like a lady that gifts cards.
Yeah, I've seen those kind of gift decks.
Yeah, so you just you keep giving them garbage.
I just wanted like some kind of like trolley commander deck that would force everyone to win. like sort of thing. So I think I'm gonna make something because all the guys play Commander every time at Guys Weekend, but I don't have. I haven't made one.
So you want to borrow a pre-con? I got 3 of them.
Those are they offer every time they offer their own decks to play, and I hate them because they're made to like win in Commander, and they're like I don't want a deck that wins in Commander. Like I want to like do something dumb, like with the deck. If you have access to 100 cards, and they're most likely you're not going to have any kind of consistency. Yeah. So you might as well have like just dumb shit in there to be like chaotic. Yeah. So I haven't found a commander that I really like or, you know.
Just use the gift one and just give everyone a bunch of garbage all the time.
Maybe. One of the decks that I played, which you would probably find pretty funny, that I loved, and I brought it to the college as well and played it. It was a donate deck. And there's a card where you place it on the field and you gain 20 life immediately when it comes out. But then when it leaves the field, if you can't pay the cumulative upkeep after so many turns, which keeps getting bigger, then you lose 20 life. Cool. You play it, gain 20 life, donate it to the opponent, and then eventually they can't pay the upkeep cost, and then they lose 20 life and die. It's over. I was like, and so I dropped that deck. I remember going to the college and playing it, and the guy's like, oh, okay, that's a weird card. And I donated to him. He's like, oh, I see. And then, like, just died, like, a turn later. Oh, it was so funny. Doing shit like that was the best. Or, like, I'd play a deck and people wouldn't understand what's happening with the deck. Yeah. Like, especially, I had Manaless Dredge, and, man, the amount of confused looks whenever you play a fucking Manaless Dredge deck. Because I'm just sitting there, like, for 3 turns holding all the cards in my hand, and I haven't played anything. People are like, does this deck even work? And then I get to, like, turn 2, and I'm discarding a card that has Dredge, and then that has a graveyard ability that I activate to dredge more cards, and then I start popping off and summoning shit. People are like, how is this work? You have no mana on the deck. Like, what the fuck? So good. Yeah. That deck was so funny.
Damn. But yeah, no, I mean, like, it's, you know.
It's a fun game, but yeah, it's got problems.
We realize where it's AIDS is basically what happened is, like, I got a red-blue one that has counters and just a bunch of stupid trash, and it's like,
it's a bunch of control stuff. It's to control your opponents to make sure that they can't play certain stuff, but obviously the negative effect of that is that they feel bad because they ain't playing anything.
It's like, oh, the move that they were about to be like, oh yeah, I'm about to get a bunch of stuff, and then it's just like, no.
And see, that's the problem I think with Magic is that, like, as a player, if you don't play against the blue players, you have expectations for what's going to happen. You have expectations that you're going to be able to play your card and it's going to last a little bit. But the problem is with the blue player is that shit never hits the field if they're a good blue player. Yeah. But, like, you have to play differently. You have to look at the blue player's mana and be like, okay, are they tapped out? Am I safe to potentially, like, summon that? But if you don't verse a player like that, you don't get conditioned to think about those things.
Even then, like, you put something down, you're like, oh, yeah, it's a 9/9 with trample, just used all my mana, and you're like, goes back to your hand.
Yeah, bounce. Bounce.
My turn? Okay, untap, that goes back to your hand?
Yeah, or even worse, I capsize that, which bounces that, and then I pay the buyback cost of capsize, so I put it back in my hand. Yeah. Bounce, back to my hand. Bounce, back to my hand. Bounce, back to my hand. I'm dribbling, bro. My guy's dribbling. I can't stop dribbling.
Yeah, no, it's just, so anyway, you know, had fun with Magic for a little bit, but I think we're pretty much out of it now.
Good, yeah. I want to try MetaZoo and some of those other card games because I'm curious, but...
I wanted to try Lorcana, but I was looking at it. Game, it looks like AIDS. It doesn't look fun.
I haven't seen much on it, honestly.
I
heard it's kind of popular.
My wife's she likes Disney, and so I'm like, oh, if I could get her into
Disney adult.
Yeah, no. So I was like, yeah, maybe I can get her into it. But I looked at, like, the rules and, like, how to play, and I'm like, I don't think it would be fun.
I had a buddy that was, like, trying to, on the spectrum, and he's trying to make Pokemon multiplayer, and he's, like, trying really hard to, like, work into the rules to make it more than 2 players.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but no, it wouldn't. I don't see how it could work unless you changed how you won.
You'd have to fundamentally change the prize pool system.
You'd have to reverse it. I've always thought about this. the worst part about Pokemon is the stupid prizes. So if you reverse the prizes where whenever you knock out an opponent's Pokemon, rather than you basically getting cards to continue your snowball, you could draw an extra card or extra 2 cards, but then you had to sacrifice 2 to be your prizes out of your hand, or it would have to be out of your hand. So you would draw however, because certain Pokemon that you knock out, you get prizes. So you get 2 for this one. So then you draw 2. If you only had 2 cards in your hand, they would have to go into your prize thing. And so you don't get access to those anymore. So there are cards that affect the prize, but they would kind of fundamentally change. The worst part about the Pokemon system is the prizes. So if you wanted to fix it, that would be the way, but...
It was an interesting question. I haven't played a lot of Pokemon. I've only played like Yu-Gi-Oh! I have a bunch of Pokemon stuff, but I haven't played the game a lot. So.
Yeah. It would be really hard to make it
I also really liked Force of Will when we played it a
Yeah.
long time ago. That game was fun. I'm not sure what it looks like now in the current landscape. I also bought some Card Fight Vanguard cards, but I never played the game.
That one I didn't like.
Yeah.
I tried that.
I never played the Neopets card game, but I had Neopet cards.
The new Digimon one wasn't bad, but there was just a lot of stuff going on to where it was like kind of overwhelming, and then you're like, I think this wins, and then you would kind of win. You're like, I think we played the game, and it never felt like even after a few matches, it never felt like you were gaining like knowledge on like how to build a better deck or do any of that. You know what I mean? I don't know, but yeah, card games can be fun.
Yeah, that's why I tried making 2, and they both failed, so...
I mean, they haven't failed yet.
It's true. We haven't tested them on the market.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, damn it. At some point in the future, I did buy there's a Guilty Gear card game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to try that, dude.
Yeah.
I'll come over.
It's a pre-constructed... Yeah, we'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Because it seems fun.
Okay. I'd love to give it a shot. I haven't played a fucking new board game in a while.
I know. It's always the old stuff.
Yeah, or stuff I've made, which is fun.
Yeah,
too.
it's fun. I like the dice.
Yeah, I have to do the 3rd version for that soon.
Where you use Snake Eyes, and then once you get Snake Eyes, you double the money in the pot. Yeah, remember when we were playing it in the alleyway?
Yeah.
That was cool, because the homeless guy that came over was
we robbed him.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't know we used the...
Yeah.
Well, so in the rules, you can use the loaded die. And we gave him a copy of the rule book. It's like 80 pages.
But he didn't read it.
He's like, oh, no, what do you do? And I'm like, well, you put money down.
I think he's illiterate, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be cool to do another version of that.
Yeah, I made $40 off of it. You wouldn't think a homeless guy would just have $40. But...
Yeah, they get money for alcohol from panhandling. How it works.
Yeah. But anyway.
Anyways, yeah, I don't think we have anything else.
I have this last thing, and we'll just leave with it.
Okay.
Because here's a book idea that I came up with.
Okay.
Man has wizard powers to get rid of all the other powers. So basically he has the god mode, okay? But if he ever does anything that is evil, he dies. So the book is about more like your life and what is good and what is evil, okay? And it's about like basically the guy figuring out like what is actually good.
So the problem with your book is that if he fails, he dies.
That's the thing. So he dies a lot. So he dies and he gets reborn, but he doesn't remember that he is who he is till he's like 13 or 14, and then the curse reactivates. So for like 13 or 14 years, a bunch of evil can happen without any punishment, because he was the guy that punishes that.
See, I almost feel like that's a really, like, I mean, you're going to be jumping through a lot of time pretty quickly here.
No, my idea would be that you focus on not like the first time or the first few times, like hundreds of times in, this guy's like hardened. And so like the sucky part about it is that you live from age 0 to like 15 or something, and at age 15, that's when you learn you have this, and then he remembers everything that's happened before.
This just sounds like a Korean manhwa. I think I've read this before.
Probably is, yeah, but this is my idea.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting idea. My only problem with it is that, yeah, if he chooses something morally wrong, he dies. But, like, let's say your solution to the problem is we start at, like, 0.100 or a couple thousand or whatever, and he has an understanding of what the morality is. So then what is the interesting aspect of the book? Is it that he is removing powers from people and trying to do it in this morally rigid way?
I think that the interesting part of the book is, like, you've lived so many lives up to 15, like, where you never got to actually live in actual adulthood. So you have, like, a person that never really got to be an adult, because by the time you're, like, 18, your frontal lobe really isn't, like, your decision making is not the greatest till you're much older. But because you keep getting this power by the time you're, like, 15, you try to, like, become an adult really fast from that point forward. But knowing that you're, like, a wacky kid or whatever, you're not going to make the best decisions all those times, and you're still trying to maybe live this life. But after 100 times, do you still try to live like a normal life, or do you just go like, okay, bye parents, bye friends, family, all this other junk that I've lived with for my previous understanding of what life was. I gotta go, like, live in the mountains and not do anything bad, or I die again? Or do you just go like, oh, this is gonna happen again, I should just try to continue living life but morally good, or whatever. The like, vanquishing evil isn't really, like, the main aspect of it. It's more about, like, what can you do to live a normal life that doesn't have any evil in it? What is considered good and evil? In your previous life, so you died from, like, eating, like, a stolen piece, or eating meat, but not realizing that it was because it was a stolen piece of meat or something like that, then I don't know. What do you learn from all these, like, experiences? It was my whole idea behind the book. It wasn't about, like, this guy being an awesome wizard. That's, like, a side part. That just gives you the plot. It's more about, like, this person's, like, choices on, like, how do you finish growing up whenever you have all this knowledge? Because a lot of people always want to go back to those times to give themselves the knowledge that they have in the future. Well, this guy has, like, hundreds of years of that. Are you able to actually make anything good of it? It's just a... So anyways, that was my idea.
Yeah, that's an interesting plot. I'd like to see you write that book. You should do that.
I would like to see myself do it, too.
You should give up that insurance thing and just write a book, honestly.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool, wouldn't it? I'm more the idea guy. So someone on the internet, get on that. I'll see you in 100 years. Yeah, write the book that
Sam wants. He can't pay the $60 to write 100 AI books. He can't afford it. He's got no job.
Yeah, I got no job.
He's brokey now, so... Don't look at me.